researcher. Namaste and greetings. I, Reetlath, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI Web Policy Learning. Today marks the last day of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship, an online national winter school program, a 2-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship. This program is organized by IMPRI Gender Impact Studies Center and would be chaired by Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, visiting Distinguished Professor IMPRI. This program had an excellent panel of experts who shared their expertise for the duration of this program. They include Ms. Kanta Singh ji, Ms. Amarjeet Kaur ji, Ms. Urvashi Prasad ji, Professor Roxana Marianescu ji, Dr. Simi Mehta ji, Ms. Vedavini Namjoshi ji, Dr. Purnima Chauhan ji, Ms. Seema Kolarani ji, Ms. Sangeeta Reggie ji, Dr. Niveda P. Haran ji, Advocate Audrey D. Mello ji, Professor Rukaya Joshi ji, Ms. Anna Usha Ibrahim ji, Mr. Yash Agarwal ji, Advocate Dr. Albertina Almina ji, Professor Tulsi Jayakumar ji, Ms. Anjali Baba ji, Professor Sangjukta Bhattacharya ji, and lastly, Dr. Samardeep Chattopadhyay ji. We're honored to have Ms. Kanta Singh ji, Deputy Country Representative UN Women India, joining us for day 10. This will be followed with the program presentations, interactive session, experience sharing, discussion, and feedback by the IMPRI team. And lastly, we would conclude with chair closing remarks and vote of thanks delivered by Professor Vibhuti Patel ji. The panel of convener comprises of Dr. Arjun Kumar ji, Director, IMPRI, Dr. Simi Mehta ji, CEO and Editorial Director, IMPRI, Professor Gumati Sridevi ji, Visiting Professor, IMPRI, and Advocate Dr. Shalo Nigam ji, Visiting Senior Fellow, IMPRI. Proceeding further, I welcome all the participants to this enlightening deliberation and thank you for being interested and putting your time, energy, and efforts into fostering the development of young women leaders in public policy, while helping us to bring together the practitioners and participants through this course for impactful policy research and action. We have also shared the course outline and reading resources in your email for your kind perusal. Before we start today's session, I would like to remind the housekeeping announcements once again. Please join the meeting on time. There will be a Q&A session after each presentation. Share your questions on the Q&A box. The questions must not be posted as an anonymous attendee. Ensure that your questions are precise. And lastly, refrain from making general comments in the question to save time. Now, without any further ado, let's start our program. I am delighted to call upon Professor Vibhuti Patel ji to deliver the opening chair remarks. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Good afternoon and welcome, Madam Kanta Singh ji, and all the esteemed participants. First of all, I would like to offer my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Arjun Kumar, Dr. Simi Mehta, Dr. Shalo Nigam, Ms. Priyanka, Shweta Shankar, and whole IMPRI team for putting this course together. And we have had extremely enlightening and electrifying sessions, previous 9 sessions. Today is the 10th day. Today is a day of solidarity, sisterhood, and collective strength of women. On March 8, we always take the balance sheet of what all we have achieved, what are the hurdles, what are the challenges, and what future pathway we are going to have. We dedicate our efforts and provide tributes to our foremothers who gave us this day. It was in 1908 when women workers of textile industry in Chicago, they fought for labor standards, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, and 8 hours of rest, that formula to be adopted by the employers, humane working condition, and childcare facilities. And they had to face tremendous witch hunting, and they had to face social isolation, ostracization from the community. But they that was the first collective effort of women in the human civilization, asking for dignity of labor, asking for women's rights. And it was declared in 1910. Clara Zetkin, a famous trade unionist of Germany, in a big gathering, declared March 8 as a dedication to these women's sacrifices, and International Women's Day was announced. And that was the time most of the European countries were preparing for the First World War. Women were against it, and the new song that emerged and that got identified with March 8, International Women's Day, is Bread and Roses. It is well known, and I think you must have seen, or you can, if you access YouTube, you can see several famous singers who have sung this song on March 8, and even in the March 8 rallies throughout the world, this song makes a haunting presence. It goes like this: as we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mills lofts gray, are touched with all radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are in the struggle, together we shall win. Our days shall not be sweated from birth till life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. Small art and love, beauty their trudging spirits knew. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we are standing proud and tall. The rising of the women means the rising of us all. No more the drudge and idler, tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. So you can see how powerful this song is. And for nearly more than 100 years, women have been singing this song on March 8. The theme for this year's International Women's Day 2024, as declared by UN Women, and we are honored to have a representative from UN Women with us, Madam Kanta Singh. And the theme is Inspire Inclusion, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress for Fostering Inclusive and Equitable Societies through Economic Empowerment of Women and Girls. Despite many policies and legislations adopted to enhance women's contribution, we see that we have a long way to go so far as women's active work participation in the larger economy is concerned. We had all the sessions which also were very much linked to this theme. The inaugural session by Amarjit Kaur highlighted women's role in the decision-making bodies of economy, of governance, of political participation in the field of education and in the field of community development. On day 2, we had a discussion which reflected on the a development trajectory that women in India had to face in the last 75 years. So economic, social, and political dimensions were examined. Ms. Urvashi Prasad, who works with Niti Aayog, she also highlighted her experiences of being in the government, first NGOs and the community-based organizations as a young social worker, and later on, now she has joined Niti Aayog, and how young women are acting as a catalyst of change for nation building. On third day, my presentation was on empowerment and development initiatives taken by the state right from the first 5-year plan in a post-independence period, the schemes and programs and gender responsive budgeting and the financial commitments for women development, their needs for health, education, employment, skill development, and decision-making and combating violence against women were examined. Professor Roxana Marinescu enlightened the participants with the global gender equality efforts in the 4 stages of feminist activism, 4 trends. First was a trend where feminism focused only on women's question. Second trend saw the issues in terms of gender binary, men and women. Third trend brought in the question of intersectionality and also the rights of gender minority, and the fourth stage of feminism currently, which is informed by social media presence, lot of online campaigning and public opinion building, massive onslaught of artificial intelligence and technological uh, uh, invasion, within which how the digital communities are created by feminists. Day 4 was about the research article writing, because this course also involves that participants have to express themselves through either filmmaking or research article or photo essay, and that the tools and technology and techniques of writing research article from idea to publication was explained by Dr. Simi Mehta in a step-by-step manner. We also had a second presentation by a very active and enlightened bureaucrat, Dr. Purnima Chauhan, who shared her personal experiences as IAS officer and how she brought in the very important concerns of women, like declining sex ratio or garbage recycling or the town's safe city, as a when she was a principal secretary in Himachal Pradesh. She also shared her experiences of study tour of many other global cities and the learnings of that, which were extremely useful. They can be replicable to in our context also. Day 5 was by Medhavini Ram Joshi, who works in the CSR department of Ambuja Cement Company, where she talked about her own experiences of working in NGOs such as Vacha, working with the adolescent girls, and now within the corporate framework, how is she creating an ecosystem where young women can lead with a purpose to make difference in their context. Sangeeta Rege from Sehat, director of Sehat, she discussed in a public health field and in the reproductive health rights movement how young women are taking leadership. And she also gave the example of pandemic, where 70% of the health workers, right from the super specialist to technician to doctors and nurses and sanitation workers, were women. Day 6 was focused on dealing with the big data, because now everyone talks about analytics and metadata. So Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay enlightened the participants about big data-driven landscape and how to navigate data deluge in India. We all are inundated with data. Social media is generating massive data. What do we decipher from this data? How do we use our skill of social science or a pure science or applied science to understand and come up with the data that can inform policies? Audrey De Mello, advocate and the director of Majlis, she also talked about the experiences of Majlis over the last 4 decades in championing safeguards for young women in public policy. And she also discussed the experiences of handling the rape survivors issues, getting compensation for them under the state scheme of Manodhairya. And she also how to deal with the POCSO cases and some of the dilemmas of Juvenile Justice Act and the POCSO Act she discussed. Day 7 was about the Rokaya Joshi, who is in SP Jain Institute of Management Studies. She has been training people to be fit in the corporate world. She discussed the leadership lessons for young women in public policy. And Anna Usha Abraham, who retired as a vice president of Mukund Iron's company, very big corporate concern, she discussed the need for networking, effective networking, and how networking contributes to personal development for young women leaders. And we had a young activist and a very erudite orator, Yash Agarwal, who discussed the career insights for young women leaders in public policy. And he also shared his experiences of over last 10 to 12 years into the, right from his student days, he was working into the career enhancement field. Day 8 was dedicated to the advancing inclusivity in society in the legal framework and the kind of challenges and strategies that we need to take into consideration by practicing litigation lawyer, advocate Dr. Albertina Almeida from Goa. She discussed several experiences of Bailancho Saad, her organization in Goa, in taking up the issues of trafficking and forced labor and the kind of development trajectory, the question of alcohol and its aftermath, domestic violence, all these issues as a lawyer, and at the same time grassroots activist, how she dealt with. Dr. Seema Kulkarni, founder of Mahila Kisan Adhikar Manch, she discussed the nuances of gender and climate change based on her first-hand experience of 18 states of our country, because Makam has been active for nearly 7 to 8 years, and how the farmers, women, recognition for women in the farm sector as a farmer, and all the state policies, why they need to direct themselves to women farmers. Then we had Anjali Bawa's session on entrepreneurial journey. She herself is a person is into entrepreneurial world, and she has also mentored hundreds of young women to enter into entrepreneurial field, at the same time navigating challenges and opportunities for young women. The previous session, which was the 9th day, was very, very important, where Professor Sanchukta Bhattacharya, in a very, very erudite and lucid and logical manner, explained the complexities of diplomacy, foreign policy, and leadership of young women in public policy. How do they deal with the glass ceiling, and how do they deal with the glass lift, and also the misogyny and patriarchal biases in the diplomatic world? Dr. Nivedita Haran, she discussed, she as an IAS officer, she shared so many of her inspiring experiences as a bureaucrat and as an administrator in Kerala, and she discussed the role which the grassroots organizations can play, and she said they are the most important, otherwise it will remain a platitude. She also gave several worth emulating and successful examples of intervention by Kutumbashri. Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay's session, as I told you, was on data, and now today we have our esteemed guest, Ms. Kanta Singh, who would give us the valedictory address, and he will also make us understand the latest global discourses going on around gender equality issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for setting such a positive tone for our last day of the course and for such a comprehensive overview of the course. Thank you so much for being such a valuable part of our course, ma'am. Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Smee Mehta ji to introduce Ms. Kanta Singh ji.
Thank you, Reet, and good afternoon, everyone. Wishing everyone, those who are watching us here on live and also later on YouTube and other social media platforms, a very happy International Women's Day. This is with great pleasure and honor that I introduce Ms. Kanta Singh ji, who is the Deputy Country Representative of UN Women India, who will be delivering the valedictory address on this momentous occasion of International Women's Day 2024. Ma'am has distinguished herself as a former national level volleyball player and a Chevening Gurukul Fellow from the University of Oxford. And apart from this personal achievements, ma'am has a distinguished development professional career over a period of 2 decades, and she brings with herself a wealth of experience, ranging from extensive experiences in spearheading pro-women development programs, women-led development programs, collaborating both with national and international entities to advance women's participation in the formal and formal sector, formal economy, sports, and political spheres. Very notably, ma'am has served with distinction at the UNDP for a period of 9 years prior to assuming her current role at the UN Women India. As the deputy representative, Ms. Singh's unwavering commitment to promoting gender equality and equity continues to be instrumental in shaping the transformative initiatives of UN Women. Therefore, Ms. Singh brings with herself a wealth of expertise in program management, resource mobilization, advocacy, and capacity building on gender issues and broader human rights. We are very unfortunate. We are very, very, very fortunate that ma'am has been able to join us, and it is a moment of pride for all of us at IMPRI to be joining her today. Ma'am, you're welcome, and wishing you a very happy International Women's Day. Ma'am, over to you for your address.
Thank you, Simi, and I wish everyone a happy International Women's Day. I'm so happy that all of us are celebrating it together. This is not the first time that we are together. In fact, number of young women that I met since morning have been asking us to what is there to celebrate and what's happening in the world. Where do young women go? Young women go. What are their aspirations, and how the world is coming together to fulfill some of those aspirations. But I think there's a lot to celebrate. And let's start only about India. I would also like to congratulate IMPRI for bringing together this cohort of young women leaders who are ready to learn and who are ready to play their part in shaping public policy. So allow me to start with public policy as a subject. So young friends who are here today, let me tell you that public policies in a country like India are not shaped the way we study, or they're not formed the way we think public policies are written or are brought in the public space. There's a lot that goes on before a policy is brought, and Vibhuti, who's here and who's been our mentor and guide in Women Power Connect, would tell you more about that and must have already spoken about it. It's a completely different experience. So if you have a feeling that they will come to you as young people and will ask you what you want and how you want the public policy space to be in, you will be kind of sad about that, because that's not how it happens. So somebody who is trusted by the government is asked to write a draft of a policy. Sometimes it is brought in the public domain and sometimes it is not, depending on how soon they want the policy to be out. So in many cases, these policies are not very inclusive. These policies don't carry the voices of people like you all, young people. And when we start implementing some of those policies, they don't work the way we thought they will work for the right stakeholders. It also happens that the budget that is required for implementation of that policy is either not there or is not sufficient to implement that. So you will be disappointed in many senses when you talk about public policies. And what we learn in colleges and universities, and particularly schools of public policy, don't reflect the real scene. And as I said, Vibhuti knows it better. But that doesn't mean that you can't contribute to public policy making. There are multiple forums through which you can let your inputs get in, particularly on policies related to women, because of the efforts of many women who have contributed to a space where women's voices have been heard. I think there's still some hope for all of us, where government does come out and say, okay, we want to have consultations with different stakeholders and different kinds of women. So they go to civil society organizations, they go to colleges and universities, they do go to young cohorts like yourselves, and in many cases, fortunately, unfortunately, many consultants who are sitting from the consulting firms are also writing those policies. I don't know how many of them understand the context, but they do write policies. So I'm hoping that some of them do put in issues of young women like yourselves. So that's the first point I wanted to make. So know more about the practical side of public policy making. Don't just go by the book. That's not how it happens and plays out. Second point is on International Women's Day theme today: how do we invest more for gender equality? And here we are not just talking about financial investment. Of course, the theme is focusing more on financial investment. But I think we as students and as leaders should think slightly more broadly about what it means. And I'll go back to what Vibhuti said. We need to bring in more inclusive societies. That also means that we need to unburden men from the traditional roles that they have been playing, by sharing the responsibilities that they carry out of being a provider, but also aspiring to do what men have been doing traditionally. We also talk about women who have been left behind. We also think about women who are physically not in a condition to go out and talk about these issues. We also talk about women who are living in Ladakh region or the most remote districts. So as students of public policy, we need to think about everyone who's been left behind and different kinds of women. They are not just one kind of women. There are discrimination happens in so many forms, and we need to know what those discrimination areas are and what can we do about those. So when we talk about public policy and inclusive public policy, that is exactly what you need to think about and play a role in understanding more, getting data, generate evidence, and then bring in those inputs into the public policy. So that's one. Also, if you talk about financing, I think public finance is just one of the tools that is used to fund women-related programs. There are multiple other ways of bringing money in women's hands. Of course, there needs to be private sector which invests in women, skilling, employment, education, entrepreneurship. There are multiple ways through which private sector is funding, but we also need to bring in private sector banks and public sector banks to have blended finance models. So gender bonds, the traditional ways are not going to work the way they have been working. I think to get more women into the financial markets, as they say, where they are not scared of finance as a subject, number one, where they're not thinking that it is man's job to bring money. It is not a man's job to also work in the financial markets or also be in the banks. I think we need to start thinking afresh and bring in more women there. Initially, you would remember they used to say rocket science. This is not a rocket science. And see how women are running ISRO in a country, right? So there's nothing which is that you can't do. Actually, you can do everything that men can do. And including finances. The third thing that I thought we are not investing enough in women's leadership. And leadership is not that, again, the traditional leadership where you have the men in black suits and sitting together. And so every woman who is able to take care of herself and is also taking responsibility for some more people is a leader to my mind. Your mother could be a leader, even if she's not literate in the traditional sense. So we need to start recognizing unconventional ways of leadership, and then spot women who have been playing that role. They may not be sitting in boardrooms, they may not be running factories, they may not be running financial markets, but they still are leaders. And so we need to invest more in those kinds of women who are running their households, for example, to also running small businesses, or also panchayat leaders, also Anganwadi workers. All of them are social leaders. So let's leave the traditional definition of leadership and invest more in women's agency, women's voices, and women's leadership. That's the third point that I wanted to make. As students of public policy, when you go out and start interacting with women who may not be as privileged as you are, you also need to think about the values they bring, their experiences. So we cannot belittle or cannot negate the experiences they bring. In adult learning, there's nothing right or wrong. Everybody who is speaking something is speaking from her experiences. So that means we need to value that. You may be in a position tomorrow where you are heading a big corporation, or you're heading a big NGO, or a big company, or a Section 8 company, or a Section 25 company. You may all be in that, and you will be in those positions. Then how do you make your company or your organization more inclusive? And that is where all these learnings that IMPRI has given you, or the investment that they have made in you, would be useful. Otherwise, if you'll continue to do the regular work, it'll not be very useful. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the green and clean economy, right? Right now, for decades now, we have been talking about men running the economy the way they want, while they are destroying part of it, but also making money. As women, we need to think about new ways of generating wealth. And green energy and green economy is the way forward. That means you invest more in the actions that can stop the impact of climate change on women's lives, particularly women who are working in the agriculture field and who are dependent on those sources of income which are those are affected by climate change. So that is one. Solar energy, also vehicles that are not polluting the air that we breathe in. Also families that are dependent on those kinds of income. I think we need to start thinking of new ways of helping the economy, not the traditional ways always. And the last point I wanted to make was that look around and see how women have been carrying the burden of care work, and how you as young leaders can start thinking of your families as in when you have your families. I'm not talking about your parents and stuff. When you have your own family, whether it is one person or two people or three people, how do you divide the social norms and roles differently? How if you decide to get married and have a man in your life, how do you share the household burden? How do you share the burden of child care? How do you also take care of your parents, where everybody in the family is playing a role? So the burden of care is something that you will need to address. People like us in our age are still being guided by what our parents taught us, that the cooking is still a woman's job. I think that needs to change quickly, and you need to start playing that role where you demand that if I'm going to work outside or if I'm going to earn money, that means equation has already changed. That means other members in the family have to start sharing the burden of care work. And there's nothing wrong, and don't have to feel guilty about that you need to start demanding some you time. As they say, me time. So start demanding that. You will not be selfish by saying, I want to be happy. And that is one decision that should lie with you. But other than these things, I just want to tell you that you are born at the right time. This is the time for you to realize your dream, aspire big, just go out and do whatever you want to do, and reshape and restructure the society the way you want. This is a perfect time to be in India and to be born a woman, because things are changing every day. And if you start looking at challenges, there are multiple, but I'm saying as young people, you should not looking at challenges. You should be overcoming those challenges. And I'm hoping that many of you you'll be big leaders. And again, going back to the leader, you will be shaping many other lives by your actions. Also lifting other women with you, also be support to each other, and also learn from each other. With those words, thank you very much and all the best for your future. I'm available on LinkedIn, or many people have my phone, so I'll be happy to do my bit for your future. Do reach out to me. Thank you very, very much. And thanks to IMPRI for inviting me to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Reet, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for generously sharing your valuable time with us. Your insights and reflections have truly resonated with us all. Your decade-long commitment to advancing gender equality is commendable and serves as a guiding light to us in our collective pursuit of a more equitable world. It was truly an honor and privilege to have had the opportunity to learn from you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll take your leave because I have to attend the program. I'm really sorry, but if anybody has questions, please do write to me at kanta.singh@unwomen.org. I'll be very happy to respond to your queries, or LinkedIn is the best tool to to reach to me. But thank you. I have to leave now. Thanks a lot.
Well, we have been
Bye-bye.
following you on LinkedIn and we have read
Thank
all
you,
the
Vibhuti.
interviews of yours. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Vibhuti. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Kantaji.
Now, moving on to our next session, I am delighted to call upon Priyanka ji to give us a brief on the Anthology of Essays book to be published by IMPRI.
Yes. Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So for the fellows who have been submitting their abstracts to us and their presentations that we have received, we'll have more presentations today. Regarding that also, I'd like to say that we have 4 to 5 names already of the people who have agreed to present today. If there are more who would like to present their abstracts today, they can type their names in the chat boxes so we can align and we can have a row number for everybody. If that would help. Now I'd like to present my screen. This is for the fellows who have been submitting to us their abstracts. On our previous cohort for LPPYF, which was Law and Public Policy Youth Fellowship, the Promoting Human Rights and Ending Gender-Based Violence, similar to this fellowship, we had an abstract submission creative project for this fellowship as well. Along with that, we had asked the fellows to kindly submit their essays to us, which we have compiled in this book, which is LPBYF, an anthology of essays on promoting human rights and ending gender-based violence. So this book is available on IMPRI's website, IMPRI Books, and as you can see here, this book has the fellows' essays. They were submitted to us, and we can find them here. So these are the contents of the fellows that submitted their essays to us. Let's say contextualizing gender and rape cases by Bharti Agarwal ji. The 7 fellows who submitted to us. Similar to these, the fellows who have been submitting to us their essays in this format, they will be published in a similar book, which will also be titled an anthology of essays and followed by the name of this fellowship. Next, this is the format in which it will be displayed in the book as well, as you can see. So this is to just to give you a description of how your essays that could be submitting to us are going to look like in the book format. This book, once again, it is available in the IMPRI Books website. So we'll also be putting the link on the chat box as well. So I encourage more and more participants to please submit to us your essays in a chapter form, the abstracts that you have submitted to us so far. We have shared with you guidelines in the form of a COR document. In that guidelines, you can see how you can convert your abstracts to the book chapters. Kindly look through that. If you have any issues, you can always write to us at learningatimpri.com. And this is how your work is going to look like. So I encourage everybody to maximum participants to kindly please, if you have done the abstracts, go the extra mile and please do submit your abstracts to us in the book chapter format. We'll be available to assist you with that on our email, which I have said already, learningatimpri@gmail.com. So that's it. I'll just show the book cover once again. This is how it's going to look like. It has its ISBN number as well. So kindly do submit to us. That's all from
Thank you so much, Priyanka ji. Now we will proceed with the presentations from the participant teams. This is the sequence of the presentation for today. Apart from these, we request rest of the fellows who wish to present to kindly type in their names in the chat box. So I have shared the sequence in the chat box. First of all, it's Sulekha ji. Please get ready with your presentation and Okay, moving on to the next person, Deepika ji, if you can get ready with your presentation.
Then we move to the third person,
Oh,
Anisha
yeah.
Khushi.
So the third person is Anisha ji, if you can start presenting. Riya Yadav ji, if you would like to go ahead.
She's there. Yeah.
Okay, so Haji has started.
Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be presenting my screen.
Title, please. First slide, I think.
Slide visible?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sulekha Kumari Das, and I'll be presenting on the topic stalking, psychological harm, and a lifetime of fear. An
Yeah,
analysis of the
slide. Please show the first slide.
analysis of the awareness and impact of stalking. My research will mainly examine stalking as a serious human rights violation in the current times by focusing on the nature and impact of stalking. It will assess the level of awareness, or rather the lack of awareness among youngsters today about stalking, while also giving an insight into how problematic media portrayals of stalking as normal and romantic in today's time are, which not only help stalkers validate their behavior as normal and romantic, but also deter victims from reporting the crime.
So, Lekha ji, are you doing a full screen presentation? Is the screen full in your screen?
And we are on
Yes,
third
yes.
slide. So I think you should start from first slide because you have given your framework in second slide, no?
Uh-huh.
Is the first slide visible?
No,
No.
this is
Are
third.
you, are you doing?
What we are seeing is the third slide.
Mhm.
Slide number
Okay.
3.
Okay, just give me a minute.
आप हाँ वापस से वर्किंग मोड पे आ जाइए. एस्केप बटन. यस, फिर से शेयर कर लीजिए एक बार. शेयर स्क्रीन. यस. सबसे पहले प्रेजेंट. यस. यस, वेरी.
Is the first slide visible now?
अब ठीक है.
Yes,
ठीक.
now it's
Okay. So as I was saying, my paper will focus on stalking as a major human rights violation. It will mainly examine 3 areas. First of all, it will examine the awareness, or rather the lack of awareness about stalking among youngsters today, mainly college-going students, for which I'll be conducting a survey through a Google form. It will showcase how problematic media portrayals of stalking are in spreading misinformation, which helps stalkers validate their behavior as normal and romantic, as an expression of love, while deterring victims from reporting the crime. It will majorly also examine the impact of stalking and how it constitutes a major emotional and psychological abuse that from which victims suffer throughout their life, long after the stalking has already stopped. For the creative project, I have chosen to present a poem which will portray the amount of psychological and emotional abuse that stalking causes. I'll begin now. Um, in whispers soft, he shadows my day, a past that won't seem to fade away. His texts, his calls, they won't let me be, a constant reminder haunting me. I used to laugh, I used to smile, but now I'm wary all the while, afraid to trust, afraid to confide. In new friends' arms, I still can't hide. Alone I walk, yet never free. His shadows loom like a silent warning. With every step I take, he follows near, a constant threat I always fear. The memories linger, they won't let me go. The fear of him, it continues to grow. I try to move on, to break free, but his ghost still haunts, tormenting me. I long for peace, for a life without fear, to wipe away the traces of tears. But until then, I hold my guard tight, praying for safety in the night. If you can see my screen, there are some latest statistics related to stalking. According to 2022 National Crime Records Bureau data, a stalking case is registered every 55 minutes in India. The latest report that was published in 2022 also showed that around 9,285 cases of stalking were reported in 1 year alone, despite the fact that scholars have pointed stalking is a seriously underreported crime, and often police ends up dismissing reports that are filed as unnecessary or not so serious, despite the fact that stalking cases have in the last almost one decade, from 2014 when National Crime Records Bureau first started to record stalking cases, it has risen by about 97%, from 4,699 to about 9,285 in 2020. In the end, I would like to reiterate once again that stalking is not normal. It is neither romantic nor fun. Girls do not like the chase. It is rather a grave violation of human rights, which causes immense emotional and psychological harm towards the victims for a longer time, long after the stalking has stopped, and often has a lifelong impact on their psychological well being. It is also a precursor to atrocious crimes such as kidnapping, murder, and rape, and therefore it is high time that stalking education, awareness, and sensitization is carried out not only among youngsters and the general public, but also public officials, to ensure that stalking is not an underrated, is not an overrated crime. It is a very serious crime, and there needs to be education and awareness spread among the public about acceptable and non-acceptable norms of behavior. Thank you. I have limited the amount I have talked about stalking. The more will be covered in the essay that I will submit to IMPRI. Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
verses are written by you? The poem that you recited? Or you have quoted some?
It has been written by me and a friend of mine from whom I've taken help. It is drawn from both our experiences. Yes.
Very, very moving. Yeah. So it will be around 4,000 words, your essay?
Yes, ma'am.
So it would be like a chapter, yeah. So you can go even up to 5,000 if you get case studies, in-depth case studies, and also some other interviews of the officials in the women's cell within the National Commission Women or State Commission for Women or police or women police, Mahila police.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Very good. Excellent.
आफ्टर ड्राफ्ट सुलेखा जी प्लीज राइट टू विभूति मैम, एक बार दिखा
Yeah.
के आप हमसे सजेशन ले लीजिएगा, है ना?
Yeah, sure.
Very good. आप हमारे जर्नल में भी सबमिट कर दीजिएगा, विभूति मैम will guide.
Yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Sulekha ji, for your presentation. Now, Deepika ji, if you can go ahead with your presentation. Deepika ji, we cannot hear you.
Hi, can you hear me and can
Yeah.
you see my slides?
Both, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Today I'll be spending 5 to 7 minutes to share briefly. So I lead the Women and Global Health India chapter. I'm part of the co-founding team, and I also chair India chapter currently. And it's been now 5 years that we've been working on building this movement dedicatedly to advance gender equity in health space. And I'll be sharing some of the reflections from the work that we have done, and also maybe dropping some spaces for you to contribute and us to work together. Starting from the 2019 report by WHO in collaboration with Women in Global Health, which was titled as Delivered by Women, Led by Men, came with a startling statistics on the proportion of healthcare workforce, which highlighted that 70% of the healthcare workforce comprises of women, but in the leadership positions, only 25% of these leadership positions are held by women. And hence the leadership positions are dominated by men. And in 2023, Women in Global Health came with another report to confirm that the statistics hasn't really changed, that in 2023, still more than 70% of the healthcare workforce comprises women, and the proportion of leadership positions that are held by women still continue to stay at 25%, indicating that the progress has really stalled and has not made any inroads in changing the statistics. And this was specifically the report that talked about the kind of unchanged status of women in leadership positions within global health. That means that over the past 5 years, there hasn't been much change. And the argument was that if we assume that the default health worker is a woman, why can't we also see that default health leader should be a woman too? And that was, a campaign to advocate for more women in leadership positions. Women in Global Health did a lot of, gender count across different spaces. For example, within the Fortune 500 healthcare companies, the proportion of CEOs, positions, particularly CEO positions held by women, were only 12%. World Health Assembly, which is one of the also referred to as the Mecca of global health, also had 23% of the delegations, country delegations led by women. This was 2022 data, and I had a chance to visit and attend World Health Assembly in 2023, and there was a promising increase of 9%. So this proportion got raised from 23% to 32%, but still far from 50. Or even if we look at 70% of the healthcare workforce is women, then hence by proportion, ideally we should have more than 50% of the women in leadership positions. So we're far away from that reality. Even within ministers of health, 25% of the positions were held by women. Deans of top 20 public schools and medical schools, 30%, and healthcare workforce continues to be 70%. And if we expand this healthcare workforce beyond, which includes the health and social care workforce, then the proportion increases to 90%. Primarily, we saw that during the pandemic, women lost ground in health leadership, and we did a bit more of statistics highlighting these numbers, that proportion of women got decreased, particularly, for example, the COVID-19 task forces in 2020. We reviewed 115 national such task forces and committees that were formed, and 85% of the positions were held by men, which excluded women from decision-making spaces. So what is the argument here? That across different cultures and contexts, we see that women continue to experience similar challenges, common challenges, while accessing leadership in health. And primarily across these three challenges, which have been covered in several sessions that we have been part of in this training program. One is the gender norms that limit women's participation at work and leadership. Second is the motherhood penalty, or the other gendered experiences that make us feel discriminated against. And third is the gendered stereotype around leadership that deter women and also sometimes penalize women for being ambitious and aggressively, pursuing leadership positions. And if we look at actually the benefit of equal leadership for women in the healthcare sector, we see actually there is a three-pronged strategy for it, that when women are enabled to enter leadership, their professional expertise and perspective strengthen the health system and healthcare delivery, and an equal health workforce based on safe and decent work for all healthcare workforce equal career progression for women. This will attract new recruits to fill those vacancies and retain expert women, which will provide a stronger foundation for health system, and in a way kind of help us achieve those sustainable development goals, as well as the universal healthcare health coverage goals, etc. And then as women enter leadership positions and formal sector jobs in the healthcare sector, women health workers will gain income, autonomy, which will benefit families. So early career men and women will also have more senior women role models, and breaking the gendered stereotype of seeing men as natural leaders. So that will help us reap the gender dividend. And lastly, with new jobs created and filled in the health sector that will drive economic growth, that will help us reap the economic and social dividend, helping us have a more gender equal health workforce, which will have positive impact for everyone. So this was like very briefly about the work that Women in Global Health at the global level has done. Very briefly also sharing the journey that India chapter specifically has made in the past 4-5 years. So we started in 2019. And we started with asking this question, that there are several organizations that exist in India that work on gender or health, or at the intersection of gender and health. So what is it that, where the gap lies and where exactly we can make a contribution? And that is where we realized that the voices of women on the ground delivering healthcare was missing. And this somehow coincided with the pandemic. And at that point of time, we were hearing a lot of how women healthcare workers are stepping out of their way and risking their lives and their families' health, and going out of their way to reach to the community, provide the care, whatever is needed, do the surveillance and screening, etc. And at that point of time, we started with our very first dialogue series on ASHA workers, doing it in 3 parts, making it comfortable and convenient for different stakeholders, community level, state level, and national level, feel comfortable and share their experiences, their contributions, and importantly, the challenges that they were facing in their own faces and voices. So it wasn't mediated by me or some other researcher or some experts or elite women who can talk very well and be a part of these webinars. So this was very, very well appreciated, and it provided that space for community health workers and different other stakeholders to connect and make sense of that, what are the challenges that these community health workers were facing on the ground. Without any idea of where this would take us, we received several requests to continue doing these dialogues for different cadres. Similarly, we did it for nurses and midwives, we did it for SHG members and women collectives. We did it for elected women representatives. We did it for allied health professionals. Similarly, we received several other requests, and we did several webinars in collaboration with Oxford Policy Management. We did also a technical session series with World Health Organization India office to capture the impact of COVID on the life of women using a life course approach throughout different stages of life. Now here, after doing so many webinars, we were kind of happy that we were able to bring light to the issues and challenges of women, particularly the healthcare workers. But we didn't like, where we felt stuck was that while these conversations were happening, we didn't see any change in the policy. We continue to hear narratives and stories, and we saw community health workers going on strike, and they still, their needs were not heard. They were not receiving payments on time. Social security was a challenge. COVID care was a challenge. So many other challenges which were not being addressed. They were awarded and rewarded at national and international level. So that is where we were feeling stuck, that what is the value of the knowledge and the discourse that we are building on the contribution of community health workers. We tried to also prepare a demand charter just before the announcement of health budgets, to send it to the ministers to advocate for that these are the needs coming directly from the community health workers, and that this needs to be incorporated and there has to be a budget allocation for that. Sadly, we weren't very successful in that, but the continued engagement and continued advocacy through speaking at different events, through writing articles, these are all, what we have been through our community, some examples that we have been able to raise voice again, around the contribution of community health workers. So these are by WGH India members, the articles that are written, the representation in these discourses, international and national discussions, etc., was done. But finally, where we are, and I'll just take a minute and close this, that we received 2 grants. One, we received a small grant specifically on integrating gender with the universal health coverage, which allowed us to participate in different events, particularly, for example, G20. So as part of the G20, C20 Gender Equality and Disability Working Group, we were able to participate in different meetings and advocate for increasing women's participation in global health leadership, and we were able to find some success in having women in global health identified as one of the key priorities. Similarly, we were able to participate in, like I mentioned, World Health Assembly, UNGA. We also were able to deliver a statement on the rights of frontline health workers at World Health Organization CRO regional meeting that held last year in October end. And while we try to continue working on these efforts, we're still kind of figuring out ways on how to contribute to policy change for community health workers. And any inputs or suggestions on this, on how to do a bit more targeted advocacy that will be more effective, would be really, really helpful. And very lastly, that we've received recently, we've received a grant where we are asked to focus on women leadership in health specifically. And we thought that all this while that we have been advocating and amplifying the voices of community health workers, perhaps this is the space and opportunity where we can focus on the leadership development of community health workers. So we are in the process of doing consultations, speaking to different people, organizations who are working with community health workers or women leadership, to understand that what is the gap for leadership development for community health workers, so that we can design a program that actually responds to the needs, and not really design a program based on the literature review or something, where we were able to give due consideration to equity, diversity, representation, language, geography, contextual realities, and importantly, that we are not using an individual model, but using rather a systemic model where we are able to integrate their training and help them interact with different actors within the health system effectively. So more along the lines of institutionalization and sustainability of those efforts. So yeah, any suggestions and comments along these lines would also be very, very helpful. So with this, I'll pause and look forward to answering any questions and your thoughts and inputs on this. Thank you.
In your model for health intervention, who are the stakeholders?
Could you explain, like, model as in, so
Yes, you will be working with the state or non-state actors, or collaborating with the state, and then how will you go about the entry point would be like the way one-stop crisis center model was created. So there was a conscious effort to work with the municipal hospitals. So state NGO worked with the government hospital, and over 10 years of time doing action research, training, documentation, and reflection, they came up with the model of one-stop crisis center. So similarly, in this, universal access to health model.
Yeah, so yes, you're absolutely right. So we also thought that we have to identify, specifically starting at a smaller scale and exemplifying and demonstrating what can really work, but definitely with the state government, because we do not want to do just one-off an activity and leave it, because it is a small and time, like we've got this grant for 2 years, 2024 and 2025. We don't know if we'll get an extension or something like that, but we want to make sure that whatever we are able to contribute, it has to be with some government mechanism, through maybe one or two states, not across the country because the money is not that big, but at least to engage with state government and get their buy-in, so that even after our grant finishes, we hand it over to the state and they can take it forward and they can integrate within their system. So thank you so much, Vandana,
Replicability,
that,
the geographical specificity, and the replicability. So that also you
yes,
will have to focus on, no?
yes,
Different
absolutely,
geographical contexts. How can
yes,
the model be
yes,
either upscaled or replicated?
yes. Thank you so much.
This would be your in-depth case study, huh? The
Yes,
method that you will be using is the in-depth case study. It
yes,
would
yes,
be, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
participatory action research method. Yes.
yeah. It'll be more along those lines.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Very, very lucid and this thing logically developed this thing presentation. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Deepika ji, for such an insightful presentation. Now, moving on, Anisha Khoshi ji, if you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that my voice is audible and my presentation is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay. So actually, I have started working on this and I've named it as Voices of Resilience. So far we have heard about so many issues and how we are trying to deal with all of them. Somehow, while I'm sharing, I'm unable to move on to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So I'm trying to focus onto Tibetan refugees, and more than about issues, it's almost like a tribute to all of those people who tried, like it's been a long time since they moved to our country, and they have tried to make sure that they are preserving their Tibetan culture and their identity, as well as contributing to the host country, that is India. And same goes for the one or two other countries that they have been to. So my presentation is a tribute to them and all the people who are stateless at the moment, but they're trying to make the most out of wherever they are. So I would begin with this, that the Chinese occupation of Tibet happened in 1959, and at that time, around 80,000 Tibetan refugees and His Holiness the Dalai Lama moved to India. And there are right now, I feel, more than around 39 settlements in India for Tibetan refugees. And going on that note, I want to share and present this video to all of you. Let me know if it is not audible. Just a second.
Not audible.
Sorry, am I audible to all of you?
You are audible.
Was it
Yes.
visible?
Yeah, only your video is not audible.
Okay. I don't know how to make it audible.
So
Just
you
a
have
second. Let me to
you
allow
have to
the
share
sound. Just a second.
music.
Share music. Yeah.
Was it audible now?
Now we are not able to see it on screen. I think it's bit. Double click to enter full screen mode, and Anisha Koshi has started screen sharing. That's what is written here. The
Okay.
image is there. Image is there.
Okay. I'll try again. Just a second. I'm really sorry for this.
Share music is not there.
I'll just try with this, and if it is not if it's working, then I'll move to the full screen one. Just a second. Is it audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. I'll try to-
I would like to be born in Tibet, but that choice was taken away from me.
Increase volume.
Yes, ma'am. The volume is full. Just a second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to play it here. Ma'am, I'll try to like play it directly from YouTube. Just give me a
Yes,
second.
yeah, that would be
I
easier.
hope
I
that
generally do
like
that.
if
Yeah.
I'm taking too much time, please let me know. I'll continue after another participant if that is all right.
Yeah. No, directly, if you do it from YouTube, it will work because I also do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Just a second. Just a second.
Yeah, so we'll have to.
Just a second. I'm just.
Now you'll be able to share.
Okay.
I would like to be born in Tibet, but that choice was taken away from me. I would like to go home and be a Tibetan in Tibet.
For almost 1,000 years, we Tibetans lived in peace, free to pursue our religious and personal beliefs. In 1949, when Communist China invaded Tibet, our peaceful existence was shattered, and we were forced to endure the unthinkable: loss of life, loss of freedom, and the destruction of our homeland. Then on March 12, 1959, 15,000 unarmed Tibetan women came together against the forced occupation of our country by the Communist Chinese government.
I mean, nobody told them what to do. This came naturally to them. So I think this is something that we can be very proud of as women.
Today, Tibetans around the world remember this event as the Tibetan Women's Uprising, one of the great movements of non-violent resistance in modern history.
Yeah, really. What say? Hero, Pamo. We even call Pamo. Really hero. Heroic.
제제맨 청거도 말고 제지 당가솔 nga nombareya ngaso chuchu chilgamoi.
Since 1959, countless Tibetan women have become leaders in the peaceful struggle to rebuild our lives and preserve our cultural identity for future generations.
I always feel, how much longer can we remain like this? We are in exile, trying to preserve this culture, trying to preserve the identity of the Tibetan people. But unless we go back to Tibet and do it in our own country, it's very difficult for us to, maintain it the way we've done it so far.
Even if we are happy, there is always this identity crisis. Like, I don't have a passport. I'm a political refugee.
Even though I don't have a kid right now, I also feel that I worry that my child will not have the same feeling that I have for Tibet.
That was a small clip, and that talked about the first uprising from Tibetan people when the first time that the Chinese occupation happened in Tibet, and how the people who are in India now, and some of them who are in Nepal and one or two other countries, how they feel like they are trying their best, but somehow there's an identity crisis that they are going through. And how did I first come to know about them? So during my time in Delhi, when I was in DU, I went to Majnu Katila, and that was the first time I got to know about this in much more detail. And this is a picture that was in the Tibetan journal, and it is for Majnu Katila. And I'll just be sharing one or two pictures from there. And this woman, her name is Mrs. Rinchen Norzum, and she was the president. She is the president of Regional Women's Association for Tibet and in Majnu Katila itself. And going further, I want to show you these two things. One is this person, and she sells laughing in Majnu Katila, and she has been doing that for a long time. And then there is this restaurant known as Dolma House, which is there from 1984 onwards. And even now, I feel like whenever I think about food and the time that I spent there, and even during the time of demonetization, I almost felt more at home in this place than ever anywhere else because of the kind of hospitality and the kind of feeling of home that they offered to me even without having a home in my own country. So that's the thing that I want to share. Moving on, there is a place called Bailakuppe in Karnataka, which is also known as which has the largest Tibetan population outside Tibet now. And this is a monastery from there, that is Namdroling Monastery. And a lot of people there are doing a lot of things to make sure that they can ensure the cultural identity that they have is continued and is taken to the next generation as well. And this is a picture where Tibetan women, they came together and to remember the failed uprising in 1959, and that was the Lhasa uprising. And this is where all the women and many others came together to remember and honor that day. And going further, I want to talk about how, I think we had a presentation about the Rohingya refugees who are in Cox's Bazar and even many of them in India, and how much difficult it is for them to get assimilated here, and what are the problems that they are going through. And I'm sure these Tibetan refugees also faced a lot of problems. And what I want to talk about is how much they put in, or what the kind of efforts, the kind of mobilization, and how they transform their life here. Like they have been doing so many of entrepreneurial things, starting from, let's say, making sweaters or winter wear. Same goes for a lot of other things like making homemade cheese and all of those that somehow help them to have this community and the sense of community here. This is a picture where the Women's Empowerment Desk has organized a women's leadership development training. so that they're trying to help their own to make sure that nobody feels that they don't know what they want to do and how can they get the resources to do what they need to do. And this particular slide that I'm sharing in front of you, this has a small clip or like a small picture from the website called Tibetan Children's Village, where that is like a school for all the Tibetan refugee children made by them themselves. And this is the goals or the mission that they have. And I feel that this is such a wholesome idea of what they want to have in the kids and the upcoming generation, starting from an idea of their identity, their culture, and to make sure that they are doing something in a very sustainable way. And it was very inspiring for me to know about it. And I just wanted to share it with all of you. Going further, coming to my creative project, I wanted to share it as a piece of poetry. And this is the poem that I have written myself. It is not only directed to Tibetan refugees, but it is for all the powerless or stateless people out there who have been feeling this kind of a situation that they feel they can't get out of, but they still try. So it goes, hearken, chess pieces all around, dancing on the board, deluded with their impact, drunk on mad power, broken, insecure, and dead, their individual dreams and passion, questioning integrity with a lack of one. Shall we overturn the board to remind? Shall we overturn the board to wake them up? Shall we remind and shall we overturn the board that chess pieces are just pieces, alas, only important on the board? See the world maybe, love a little, live a little, envying the peace of the powerless, brittle, broken, bereaved. Brittle, broken, bereaved hearts and souls, hush, hush, moving just a single block. Blocked visions, crumbling kingdoms. Who will guard the guards? Who will guard the guards? Thank you so much. On that note, I want to stop my presentation. I hope that my ideas reach to all of you. That's it.
Very moving and analytically powerful presentation, and even your verses are so powerful. I wanted to know that are you going to also focus on global efforts of transnational solidarity, what's happening, what the UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, UNHRC, and international human rights organizations are doing? Will that also be part of your?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. While trying to come up with this presentation, I did read a lot about it, but like till now, I've not had any formal training in policy and how these things work. So I feel at times little bit like an island in between in the sea. So I'm trying to find out those things. I'll try to incorporate those in my research.
One section, if you can have, no, which you can give the overview of the efforts made over last 8 decades. So,
okay,
yeah,
I will definitely.
59 to, yeah.
Okay, thank you so
very
much.
good. Congratulations. Very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Anisha ji, for your presentation. Now, moving on, Riya Yadav ji, if you can start your presentation. You're on mute.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Just give me a second, I will share my screen.
Yeah.
Document here. Actually, I'm doing it through my phone, so I'm facing some issue.
Yeah. It's okay. It's visible. Yeah.
Okay. How to do it now?
Yes.
Riyaji, we are sharing it from our side. You can,
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir.
yeah, you can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead. You can say next. We'll change it. Change it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so I am presenting a research paper on topic Indian state response toward homosexuality. Please next, sir. Okay. So this research paper focuses on how the Indian state, what is the role of the Indian state towards the right of the homosexual people in India. As we know that all human beings must have the right to live their life with dignity. But in our society, not everyone has this right. Sexuality issues are considered irrelevant, elitist, and excluded from the human rights agenda for a long time. The normal heterosexuality is controlled by the state, religion, and the law. So this research paper seeks to examine how the modern Indian state recognizes the rights of homosexuals. What were the situation of the homosexuals in India during the ancient time, then in the colonial era, and now in the present modern in this recent time. So this research paper using a literature review methodology using secondary resources to analyzing various research papers, books, journals to understand the rights of homosexuals in India. So next slide, sir, please. So first, let's understand what is the difference among sex, gender, and sexuality. So sex defines what is sex is biological, while gender is a social construct. As Simone de Beauvoir says, that one is not born a woman, but rather becomes a one. In the term of, as Judith Butler explains gender as gender performativity, like gender is a doing, gender is performative. What someone thinks about themselves psychologically, identity defines their gender, and sexual orientation is something that toward whom a person feels attracted. It defines that person's sexual orientation. Please next slide, sir. So homosexuality means when someone feel attracted emotionally, physically, or both sexually toward the same sex person. It defines that person we say they're homosexuals. Okay, so during the ancient India, homosexuality was not considered as a crime, not it was not criminalized at that time, and various texts of the Ruth Vanita, Salim Kidwai also defines that what was the situation of the homosexual people during the ancient India. So Hindu texts, Buddhist and Muslim literature and various more also show that evidence of the same-sex love in various forms. This is the picture of the Khajuraho temple. Please next slide, sir. So it was only in the colonial era Britishers criminalized homosexuality and they imposed the section 377 IPC. So section 377 defines homosexuality as unnatural offense. Whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with the imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall be liable to fine. So, as Sumit Saurabh Srivastav, he argues in his article that state does not allow the space to the alternative sexualities, and it discipline the desire. He says that state is straight as its legal framework supports and legalize heterosexuality, and through its legal mechanism tends to discriminate and exploit those having homosexual tendencies. Nivedita Menon argued that patriarchy needs the institutions of compulsory heterosexuality to survive. And patriarchy allows only the form of family to exist, the heterosexual patriarchal family, which is the key to maintaining the both nation and the community. So LGBTQ activism challenged the heteronormativity and demanded the state to recognize the alternative sexualities and stop treating homosexual as a second-class citizen in their own country. Please next slide, sir. So uh, there's a legal trajectory of decriminalization of section 377. I will not go into the details so much, but the moment started in the 1990s. 1994, AIDS Bhedbhav Virodhi Andolan NGO filed the petition in Delhi High Court seeking to repeal the section 377, decriminalize the homosexuality, when the some homosexual tendencies found in the Tihar jail, and the jail authorities denied to distribute the condoms in the Tihar jail. So from that incident, that moment started, and that PIL cancelled by the Supreme Court, it denied. Then again in 2001, NAS Foundation and NGO and Lawyers Collective filed PIL in the Delhi High Court. And in 2009, Delhi High Court decriminalized homosexuality. And once again in 2013, when Suresh Kaushal judgment came, and various religious groups they went to the Supreme Court against the Delhi High Court verdict. And then 2013, that was the black day for LGBT community, because Supreme Court again criminalized the homosexuality. But after a long battle, then finally in 2018 on 6 September, Supreme Court recognized the right of homosexual people and decriminalized the homosexuality. Then even after decriminalization of homosexuality in 2018, homosexual people still, they do not have equal rights as heterosexual people have. So state discriminate against them. As our Indian Constitution give right to equality, right to liberty to all of us, but state is not treating homosexual people, not and violating their right to equality. So as the Michel Foucault argues that power enacted as a power as a conceived and as a repressive power, desire and ability of an agent to force the other to obey his command, and this has resided in modern institutions. Iris Marion Young talked about the gender logic of masculine's protection. So I'm taking his argument that she says that state often justify their expectations of obedience, loyalty, as well as their establishment of surveillance, police, detention, and the repression of criticism and dissent by appeal to their role as a protector of citizens. So state is so powerful. State claim that state is protecting their citizens, while state is discriminating against their own citizens and force them to obey his commands. Please next slide, sir. So next slide, sir. Yeah. So recently this Supreme Court verdict came that Supreme Court denied to legalize the same-sex marriages, and Supreme Court said that it is in the hand of the parliament. They have to decide, and they can only make the law. This is nothing to do with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court cannot make the law. So Supreme Court has interfered with the intercaste marriages and interreligious marriages. Hadia case judgment came, but now the court is not interfering in the same-sex marriages. Anyway, so now at last I'm giving some some recommendations, like there is a need to amend the Special Marriage Act and Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2021 to recognize the same-sex marriages and give the legal right, adoption right to same-sex couples. And sexual harassment of women at workplace must also include the sexual harassment of homosexual people also. And there is a need to develop the training programs and gender-sensitive programs for health professionals, teachers, professors, and for everyone at the workplace to sensitize them toward homosexuality. And there is a need to amend the Domestic Violence Act. There is a to include the Violence Act, which happened to homosexual peoples within their own houses. So this is thank you. So the LGBTQ activism has come a long way and is still a long way to go. Thank you.
So you would be providing the overview of all that has happened regarding in terms of laws and policies with regard to homosexuality, right from the colonial times till now. Okay, so that would be your more of a history of LGBTQIA rights, no? It would be something that. And what would be the, you'll also be giving recommendations?
Yes, ma'am. At last, I'm giving some recommendation that what should be done by this
only
state.
one thing which is missing is that how the UN has played a pivotal role in persuading the nation states to come up with the decriminalization and decriminalization against LGBTQIA community, and also coming up with the social safeguards. So even the aspect of gender budgeting, that also you should include, and the examples of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, which have come up with a concrete intervention for LGBTQIA community. Even the census, they have Kerala completed census of transgender population, and their needs and demands age-wise. Transgender child, what would that need? Adult person, elderly person, person with disability, multiple intersectional vulnerabilities, all these issues have been taken care. So I think literature from Tamil Nadu and Kerala will be useful. That can be called as a best practice. Plus UN Women has also come up with the gender responsive budgeting with regards to gender minorities. That means transgender people. So that also you can download it from UN Women's website.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Very comprehensive.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Riya ji, for your presentation. Moving on, Preetha ji, if you can go ahead with your presentation.
A very good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. My topic is women's healthcare and English education. The combination of these two words have not often been seen, is what I realized as I dwelled into the research. So that's, yes. For my creative project, what I've done is I have a skit being enacted by some students from a government school in Kanyakumari, which I will be playing, which will enact my topic itself. But before I do that, I wanted to give a context on why I have chosen this topic, right? Women's healthcare and English education. So as I do it, I want to compartmentalize my context into two. One is language in India. So when I say language in India, I'm talking about official languages, right? As per the Constitution of India, Article 343, you have two official languages, which is Hindi and English. But ironically or historically, the state, our country has been divided on the basis of language, which means that there is a lot of linguistic division in our country. And why I say that? So when I say there is a linguistic division, language has been taken as the base to build culture throughout our country. And by culture, I mean identity throughout our country. So when we're talking about language, we're talking about culture and identity. So language
also governance, because we have something called Rajya Bhasha.
Yes.
Okay,
so we are talking about a very critical point when we talk about language. So as I said, identity and culture also comes from language. So when I say I am a Tamil speaking Indian, I take a certain pride when I mention my language, right? but economics does not recognize this pride. So what do I mean when I say economics? By economics, I mean money, economic opportunities, and any sort of opportunities that you can access in the contemporary world that does not recognize this culture or identity. It might still not be clear. So what I'm trying to say is English has become a language which has become a tool for any sort of upward mobility in the contemporary world. English is a tool for you to sort of access any opportunities, healthcare, be it your law, your legal system is in English in the contemporary world. However, only 10% of the entire country speaks the language, according to the 2011 census. What about the rest of the 90%? Even in our recent NEP 2020, we are talking about imparting regional language education for children. And I don't mean to say that I'm against regional language. I love Tamil. I think a lot of intelligence, the depth of intelligence actually comes from regional languages. So I'm in for incorporating regional language, but also equally promoting English, because English is being accessed by 10% of the elite, people who have been historically able to access that. However, the 90% have not been given this access, and we still continue to do that. We say we want to protect our culture and identity, we say we want to protect regional languages, but at the cost of the 90% of the socio-economic deprived classes. So this is an overview on how critical English is and how we've despite 75 plus years of independence, we've not been able to provide this access to a huge mass of people on one hand. On the other hand, I'm looking at specific components within this, right? When I say healthcare, most of the medication that we have access to is in English. Like if I have to say the expiry date, it's in English. Medical terms are very similar. Like there is Medisol and Medicil tablet, both just one word differences. It's all in English. We are able to make out the difference, but what about the rest of the population? And there is a lot of migration in India. And I don't think it's possible for manufacturing industries to actually print in 22 official languages the medical instructions. So it has been a standardized procedure that English is going to be used for official purposes. So not just for healthcare, but for economic opportunities, but to have equal access to your legal care, for everything, English becomes a crucial tool, but still now not being given the opportunity to propagate equally. So I think this is a crucial point. I want to leave it as a question to everyone, because currently India is the 5th largest economy and Japan is already in a flux. So if you're going to move to, let's say, 3rd or 4th largest economy, and if you're still not going to give English to the rest of the 90%, then it's a huge question for the country. So I leave it at that, and I will be presenting the skit enacted by children from a government school in Kanyakumari on how English is important for women's healthcare.
So you are making a point in favor of universalization of English teaching learning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but also emphasizing, and I just a little bit about my work also. I work on providing access to English education, but through your regional language. So you're basically looking at a bilingual model of education for children. So teaching English through regional language.
Bangladesh did that for universalization. They use the technology, so Bengali and English, so to reach out to the mass on a mass scale. They did. But it's a small country, so it's possible. For India, it's much more complex.
Yeah. I will just be sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Ma'am, is my audio and video visible?
Video is visible, not audio. Is it there on YouTube? Then you can directly share from YouTube. That would be easier to get.
It's not on YouTube. It's
Okay, try sharing again, Ritaji.
just a minute. Do I need to change any settings while I present a video from the system?
No. Just share again.
Have you maximized volume of your audio?
Pitaji, can you try some other another video player? You can open it. Just go on the video file, click right, see which all player you are getting.
Yeah, MP3 and all. Media player, Microsoft Clipchamp, and Windows Media.
Windows Media Player, try.
I'll just share my screen again.
Give full sound.
Is the audio, is everyone able to?
Audio is not coming, but it will come. Increase the volume, then try sharing again.
In full volume. Is it possible that I share it with the IMPRI team and they will be able to present it from their end?
Yes, we will do that.
Is it on
All right,
Google Drive? Is it on your drive?
No, it's actually in my desktop. I'll try to put it into a drive and share it with the team as the others continue to present. Maybe in the end, if we can just share.
Let us try that last time. Go to
Now?
share. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I can try now again. Yeah, just a minute. Okay, then I think I'll share it with the IMPRI team, and if you can present it towards the end, that will be really helpful.
Yes, please do that.
Thank you so much, Pritaji. Moving on to our next presentation. Meenakshi ji, you can go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to switch on my video, but it's not letting me. Okay, okay, yeah, got it. I've got that. Okay, I'm sorry. I am not able to switch on my video. Is it from your side, some controls? No, right?
No.
Okay, I'll just start sharing my screen. Start my video, it says, but it's not, I'm not able to start my video.
There must be problem of bandwidth. We will also switch off our videos and audio.
It will do. Meenakshi ji, go to start and stop video.
I mean, it's completely switched. I mean, I'm not able to click on that. Like when I click, it doesn't it's not responding.
There's
And
an up. Can you see an up
you
arrow?
share my, if you don't, I'm sorry if I have a problem sharing my screen also. So would you mind sharing my presentation, which I've sent this morning?
Okay.
We'll share Meenakshi.
Yeah, thank you.
Meenakshi, meanwhile, you can see the
Yeah.
camera button, start video, stop video. There's an up arrow there.
Okay.
Select a camera, you can see which camera
Okay.
you.
I think I'll just go to settings and see if there is anything that I need to do here. Okay. Yes, I think I should be able to do it. Sorry, not able to help here. Okay, so today I'll just start with my presentation. I'm really sorry that I'm not able to switch on my video. So before that, when I initially joined, I was able to switch on my video like before this. Okay, so I'll just start with my presentation. So gender equality and empowerment. So can I go to the next slide? So I'm just talking about increasing women's participation in politics. That is very close to my heart. So just to give a background about me, I've been working in the social sector for more than a decade. So it's almost 15 years now that I've been working at the grassroots level with different political parties and with people for good governance and also working for advocacy for various policy level changes. And I was able to bring in this uh, plastic ban in the state of Karnataka at the policy level in 2017. So this is my background. So when I say increasing women's participation in politics, the current status, whatever I've written, I think you can see it on the screen, but I just want to discuss in detail how challenging it is. Though we say that we have a reservation for women in politics in upper house, and we have state level representation and reservation for women, at the grassroots level, it's still a challenge for any woman to come up to that level. And the challenges being like they have, can we just move on to the next slide? So the challenges being this structural barriers like discrimination in political parties and electoral systems. And so the first thing which I have experienced, so I want to share it with Ms. Vibhuti Patel, and I just want to take her inputs, how I can bring this onto the table by bringing a different kind of policy level implementation. So the thing what we face right now is like, though I have worked at the grassroots level and people have given me the support of being a candidate for the MLA elections, so I wasn't able to get through into any political parties due, and not only me, it's the case of all women leaders where we have been working closely at the grassroots level. We're not given the party ticket due to nepotism, and also not having a godfather in politics and power play. And so these are and also the social barriers and religious barriers and everything. So so this is becoming a challenge for any women. Though we say that we have brought in 33%, are we having 33% in the political parties for us to get nominated the real candidates? This is so can we have any change at the political party level, where some kind of policy framework which will ensure that the women who are deserving, so can there be uh, can there be something like qualify eligibility criteria for a woman to get into politics or to be elected as a party candidate? So can that also be included at the policy level? That is one of the questions which I just wanted to ask today. And also, so once we enter into politics, there's a lot of mansplaining and gaslighting. So mansplaining, when I just say I have experienced it personally, so when they look at women leaders, the first thing for all men, which is like, you don't know anything, so I'm explaining to you. So where it's like condescendingly, they explain the things which already we know about. And also gaslighting happens very frequently, and the women just gets dropped out at that level itself, that they don't want to continue in politics. So and so women's role in perpetuating gender bias through internalized stereotypes and competition for limited opportunities. So this is happening at the grassroots level. So though we may say so many things rosy and we are going to get more women in politics, but we need to look into this side of politics where we don't have that takeoff from the political party level or at the grassroots level itself. So can we move on to the next slide, please? So I've also written about overcoming these barriers and challenges. The first thing is definitely the quotas, which are making the changes at the political party level, where they also need to recognize women. They also need to give tickets to the women for contesting in the election. And there are like a lot of capacity building programs which we do as women leaders for other women leaders, wherein giving them the awareness how they can grow within the party, how they can do impactful work at the grassroots, and how they can get identified as a leader. So we do all these women leadership programs for other women political leaders, and we can see that these challenges can be like avoided by giving them that kind of awareness that they need to stay strong and wait for some policy level changes to happen, so that like they get recognized and get into the political system without much of a struggle at the party level itself. And supportive policies and promoting female role models. So that is another thing which I just wanted to share with everybody is, so we have seen many women capable women leaders in the political parties where they remain as karyakartas till their retirement or till the end of their life. So there has been a lot of there should be some kind of structure or framework or and hierarchy that needs to be brought into the political system. So that is one of the ways which I just feel that can be advocated for getting this policy level changes. And there are like countries like Rwanda who has the highest percentage of women in parliament globally, with women holding over 60% of the seats in the lower house. So probably if we go through the model of that country, then probably like we will be able to understand better and bring more women leaders into politics. So next slide, please. So coming to the conclusion and measures. So the first thing which I couldn't progress or I couldn't take off from where I was the money, like the kind of funding which we require for contesting an election or getting nominated into as a party candidate. So as the keynote speaker of today, Ms. Kanta Singh mentioned, like crowdfunding and investing in women as it rightly said in the theme of this year. So many corporates and many private funding has to happen in politics to encourage more women, irrespective more deserving women to participate in politics, so that like there is no barrier for them financially. That is the first thing which comes for any women to contest in politics. And another thing is promoting transparency and accountability in political processes to challenge entrenched power dynamics. So as I had mentioned, like a lot of structure can be brought into this, considering if we can consider politics as a professional career for women, not as a service. I've just spoken right now. So we say that we serve the country and politics is not a profession. Politics is not. So if we can think differently and think of another alternative as politics as a profession or a career for women, where we can bring in more women coming into picture without much of fear, and there will be some professional attitude and behavior in the system. And also increasing women's political participation is not only a matter of equality, but also essential for fostering inclusive and effective governance. So I just wish to say that that if we can have something at the grassroots level, which if we can have policies which will help women working at the grassroots level, women working at the party level to get nominated, that would be a great change, and we can talk about the reservations then after. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. And thanks so much, Professor, for giving all the insights which has helped me come up with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ji, for your presentation. Vibhuti ma'am, if you have any suggestions or anything to add. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Is to add. One is that you haven't said what will happen with the new act passed, no, Women Reservation Act 2023. You need to spell out and do some forecasting. That now you have system and structure which ensures 1/3 representation. How is it going to challenge the political space and the ecosystem? Because we saw in European Union, once they had 40% reservation for women parliamentarian, so many things changed, no? The language which was used in the parliament, or the old boys club which was taking nation's decision while in the pub after parliamentary hours, or the corruption, nepotism, not doing any work during the parliament, but only all doing maneuvering and manipulation after the parliamentary hour. All that thing had to stop when women demanded that they meant business. They were not the showpiece, no? They were not to be seen. They had to be heard. And the 40% means they had they could come together and shout together and put forward their agenda. Even the gender budgeting process also got intensified because they were there, no, in the European Parliament. Now, that's why you need to also see that how the things are changing. At least in principle, they have supported. All political parties have supported Women's Reservation Act. Are they going to give them candidature? Okay. Are they going to give them tickets in the coming election? So I think these are some of the important questions you need to raise, number one. Number two, when it comes to Rwanda or anywhere, Rwanda is the highest political participation now. But you have to know the ethnic cleansing which killed all men. The 1990, the civil war started. By 1994, there was a massive genocide and ethnic cleansing that happened. Only women and children were left. Elderly people were left. All adult men were killed. The Tutsis and Kikuyus, the fight. It is in that context to rebuild the nation was completely devastated. UN Women, UNHRC, several UN bodies also supported, UN Peacekeeping Force. All of them, they played important role in hand-holding of these people. Truth commissions and International Criminal Court also took it up. But I think that political economy and the situation background you need to know, because it is very different from high political participation of women in Scandinavia. Scandinavia also has a very high participation. Sweden and Norway and Denmark and Iceland. In fact, Iceland women, they can even mobilize 100% strike of women. No? So small country, but that is the power they have. No, and all these 18 countries where you have women as a prime minister or president. So I think you need to go the historical background and the label of women's self-mobilization. How does it reflect on women's bargaining power in politics? Because even in the Panchayati Raj institution, we have seen wherever they are backed by the social movement or peasant movement or women's movement, they are able to perform. Only when they are isolated, the witch hunting and sarpanchpati and being treated as where the places where there is no history of women's movement, that is the place they feel totally disempowered. So I think other factors also should be, what are the socio-cultural, historical factors which are determining and which have bearing on women's political participation, representation, as well as voice, both. Otherwise, it would be only representation is a sarpanchpati phenomena, women being treated as a puppet in the hands of male family members or male leaders. So I think you have to bring it little more complexity and the interrelationship into your work. But it's a very important topic you have chosen, and your personal experiences are very important. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Meenakshi ji, for your presentation. Now, moving on to the next presentation, Lopamudra Ghosh ji, you can go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Are you sharing your PPT?
Yes, I'm trying to share my PPT.
From smartphone or?
No, from my laptop itself.
Fine. Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, it's in working mode. You can make it in a slideshow mode.
Yeah. Okay.
Lopaji, you can also have your video on.
Sir, I have extremely limited network supply.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, very good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I would like to talk on the role of inclusive domestic politics in a nation's foreign policy. I have chosen this topic under the theme of empowering the marginalized, inclusive policy making for an equitable India. Now, moving on to the key question of my research, the key question revolves around how a nation's foreign policy benefits from the inclusivity in its domestic governance. So, as we all know, that greater inclusivity invites greater number of foreign direct investments or FDIs in the country, and this strengthens the economic relations between two countries. Greater inclusivity also necessitates greater participation of women in the workforce, and in this way, women get the chance to play their due role in strategizing foreign policy of their countries. Now, greater inclusivity also acts as the gate openers for newfangled innovations in important areas such as education, healthcare, scientific research, and even spirituality, through which the political, socioeconomic, intellectual, and cultural stability of a society gets concretized and aggravated. Now, so the question is now, the most important question is, how do we engender this much required inclusivity in our societal dynamics in general and in domestic politics in particular? So the simple one-word answer to this is balance. We need to establish balance between the intellectual, political, socioeconomic, and cultural elements which play subtle yet Himalayan and massive roles in our domestic political and governance infrastructures. For instance, the rural local self-governance institutions, such as the Panchayati Raj institutions, which should strictly abide by the definition of self-governance, do not abide by the definition of self-governance. I come from a state called West Bengal, which witnesses massive political violence during the aftermath of elections, as local as Panchayati Raj elections, and I think the rest of India is not unaware about it, given the important role played by the media in particular and by the government in general. So we should make sure that the Panchayati Raj institutions are ruled by self-governance. no particular political party, no hooliganism, no kind of unsocial or let's say unconstitutional dynamics get to play their due role and get a high hand in jeopardizing the political rights of any citizen, for that matter, not only women. Now, moreover, no violence should be tolerated, and any kind of violence should be outrightly reported to the concerned authorities whenever any fundamental rights or any legal rights get jeopardized. Only then we can establish the much needed equilibrium between the voters and their representatives. Now, such a mechanism is also sacrosanct for ensuring that the problems and prospects of a constituency are not only effectively communicated, but also solved for the future time. And women play a key role in all this mechanism. For instance, women have always been an inspiration for this country. For instance, the Chipko Andolan, women's role in safeguarding the environment. Women activists can support animal rights activists and environmental activists, whereby communicating effectively to the government and the civil society to frame and implement robust laws to protect environment and legitimize the much needed right to life for animals, because animals are the backbone of the biodiversity. Women can initiate organizational initiatives because they are the force which infuses the much needed cohesion and governance. Women should lead the development of a robust, highly skilled, empathetic, and flexible system of bureaucracy, the focus of which should be to balance out the polarizing factors which I mentioned just before, such as the complex political competition, hooliganism in masquerading as politics, which underperforms a nation's capacity in all aspects. So the problem of West Bengal is not the problem of West Bengal anymore. It becomes a problem of India soon if it is not addressed adequately. So the aim of the political class should not be winning elections. The aim of the political class should be to collaboratively contribute for the highest good of nationalism, whereby obeying the constitution, whereby showing immense respect for the rule of law. As Aurobindo Ghosh rightly stressed on the need of aesthetics in governance and administration, I would like to emphasize that women should make it obligatory for the government and for their societies to implement the much needed aesthetics in our country's policies, which unfortunately no government has profoundly focused on till date. Now, coming to the implementation of public policy, I would like to shed on the role of spiritualism, or let's say the role of spirituality in our country, and in our country in particular, and in our public policy framework in general. So implementation of public policy is an activity between human beings by which diverse and conflicting claims of various holes in a polity are conciliated, redirected, and at times reorganized for the welfare of all. As Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji said, go back to the Vedas. We Indians, we need to establish robust, feasible, and universal synergies between the core philosophical value systems and the currently evolving vibrant domain of public policy. Now, by core philosophical value systems, I mean the very profound, thought-provoking, non-violent, and universal streams of political consciousness which Mother India has gifted to the world. The need for such a vibrant, synergetic framework of public policy arises because, as the ancients thought, the more powerful wholes are apt to transgress into the fears of the less powerful, and quite unfortunately, the right is often identified with the interest of the strong. For India to become the public policy capital of the world in the future, it would be extremely important for all of us to shed knowledge on what our beloved philosophers and social reformers, such as Sant Kabir ji, Sant Gorakhnath ji, Sant Ravidas ji, Maharshi Valmiki ji, Sant Surdas ji, Sant Tulsidas ji, Ma Mirabai ji, and also we should make sure that all their philosophies find due expression in our governance and public policy infrastructure. We must not forget that India was, is, and will forever be the bhakti and yoga capital of the world. It is this all-pervasive bhakti yoga which will once again give birth to the much-needed composite culture of peace, non-violence, and universalism in India. Only if we successfully assimilate the Vedic worldview, the Upanishadic philosophy, the non-violent value systems of the Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, and Islamic traditions, we would undoubtedly be able to contribute our best in making India the policy capital of the world. So far as effective entrepreneurship is concerned, because effective entrepreneurship plays a very crucial role in Indian economy, we should note that there are internal loopholes and external risks which may weaken India's entrepreneurial infrastructure. And women play a very integral, cohesive role in strengthening India's entrepreneurial infrastructure. For instance, in order to engender a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem, the state should make sure that the economic reforms are not slow and incomplete. But if there is so much of political violence after any election, I can guarantee that no kind of entrepreneurial framework will develop. Everyone and basically the citizens will be terrorized. They would just try to flee that state, or let's say all of their rights will be jeopardized. It would be just like a survival of the fittest kind of thing. So the pace of economic reforms will become extremely slow. For instance, opening up of the Indian market is still ongoing and lacks complementary reforms for robust implementation. Again, an example such as the slow labor reforms due to differences between union and state policies. So the lack of cohesion between the center and the state gives rise to n number of problems, and the women are the women are the population which faces the brunt of all these problems. Legal issues are also another problem, such as restrictive labor laws, then lengthy compliance, lengthy litigation of disputes, delays in clearance due to environmental concerns, corruption, etc., should also be addressed. For us to be able to engender a sustainable environment-friendly entrepreneurial framework, we should also be able to infuse more competitiveness into the economy, which again is attacked if political violence and hooliganism masquerades as politics. India's exports suffer on cost, as we know, and quality due to high logistics cost, high fluctuations in raw material prices due to high unstable inflation, then over dominance of the MSME sector, obsolete technology, and no assured environment friendliness. In India, only 4.69% of workers are formally skilled as compared to 24% in China, 75% in Germany, and 96% in South Korea. So the government should also play its due role in upskilling women and turning them into skilled workers so that they can empower themselves, and that would be the real Atmanirbhar Bharat. Lack of skilled manpower in the entrepreneurial economy increases the fear of the youth in the private sector and discourages them from taking risks due to little supporting ecosystem. And this is again aggravated by the political violence, hooliganism masquerading as politics. We should also be able to engender a public policy framework leveraging which the entrepreneurial ecosystem will be least impacted by cyclical slowdowns in global markets. India should build its economic and public policy framework on the foundations of the value systems engineered by our beloved saints. In the words of Dr. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar, यह तीन लोकों से न्यारी काशी सुज्ञान धर्म और सत्य राशि बसी है गंगा के रम्य तट पर यह सर्व विद्या की राजधानी यह सर्व विद्या की राजधानी. I would like to emphasize that it is Gyan, Dharm, and Satya alone which can universally transform this shrine of India in particular and the world in general. Thank you so much for giving me this very wonderful opportunity to express myself on this very pertinent topic. And I would like to get some suggestions and questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lopamudra ji. Vibhuti ma'am, if you have any...
Lopamudra ji, it is okay as an essay, but you need to, if it is a research base, then you will have to make it a focus in one particular area, because in one paragraph only you are highlighting 4 or 5 themes: politics, governance, violence, spirituality, and also the quotations of the philosophers, religious philosophers and all. So for if you are aiming only as a submission, that's fine. But if you want it to be included as a chapter, then you will have to focus and provide a lot of substantive research references and all. So how do you want to go about it?
Ma'am, I would like to present it, or let's say publish it in the form of an essay.
Yeah, so but in essay, but what would be the focus of your, because it's too broad what you are,
Yeah.
It looks like a, yeah, it's okay for a 8-mark speech, but for a research paper, you need to narrow down the scope and also do much more rigorous, analytically rigorous work with substantive references, no, to support your argument. So do you want to focus on political issue or governance issue or mob violence or economic, this, because you have also talked about the economic policies. You are also talking about the labor laws and conflict industrial relations between workers and this thing. So each one of them is a special domain. So you'll have to choose which domain you would like to focus on and then start doing the review of literature and build your argument and pathway for future.
Okay.
Yeah. So what would you like to take up? Global macro policies you want to take up? So that would be new. Are you a student of economics?
No, I'm not a student of economics. I am looking for pursuing my degree in law. And so I would like to take up the issue. I mean, I would like to synergize public policy and the current public policy and the current challenges that public policy framework in India faces. And I would like to shed light on my own state, West Bengal.
Okay, case study of West Bengal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just focus on that and start doing a literature scan of reports, articles, and books on the subject, and then come up with a review of literature, do your gap analysis, and try to make your article or chapter as a unique, because whatever has happened so far, you can't repeat that. You have to come up with your own. So that would be fine.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good idea. Case study of West Bengal.
Ma'am, it was also, Vibhuti ma'am, it was also very nationalistic, and Lopaji was focusing more on ancient saints, and also Lopaji, you can also look at which women saints, what are they saying and envisaging India. That will also be something which
that
you
would
can...
be separate topic. Yeah, the saint poetess. In fact, Neera Desai has written a lot on Bhakti movement. Neera Desai, Veena Majumdar. Then we have a separate books written by Parita Mukta on Mirabai. So that is another topic which you can take up. The contribution of Bhakti movement from 12th century to 18th century, you can take up. Yeah,
And then Lopaji, you can have public Nari Shakti, India and world, something like that. You can do some research. It can also be a very good paper. You can take guidance from Vibhuti ma'am. But think about it.
Yeah.
Some more focused paper. It
But
was very
what she says now is about West Bengal case study. That seems doable, because otherwise Bhakti movement from 12th century to this, and doing critically reflecting, generally most of the studies are from the literature and sociology perspective. Either sociologist or the literature department, they have focused more on that, no? Or even historians have also done it. So if you think that you are at ease with that, then you can do on Bhakti movement.
But then again, with West Bengal, Raja Ram, a lot of figures also come in. Sir,
That is a social reform movement. It's not Bhakti. They were a very much rationalist. Brahmos were rationalists. They were not spiritual. They were very much down to earth reality they were dealing with. No.
But then with West Bengal, a lot of other things will come.
Yeah,
But think about it, Lopaji.
Yeah. But narrow down to one particular topic, examine it thoroughly, and provide all the documentary evidences for the statements and that you are making.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Lopamudraji, ji, for your presentation. Now we'll be going back to Preetha ji. So Priyanka, ji, if you can please share the video of the one that has been shared.
Okay. Meanwhile, Swati ji, you also want to present?
My stomach hurts a lot. I don't feel good. Oh no,
Is it audible?
Yeah. Only subtitles are not there. Yeah.
Huh.
Do you have subtitles in English?
Subtitles, no, ma'am. It's a raw file.
Okay.
But no issue. Priyanka,
let
from
me
start.
check your temperature. Maya, what happened? Maya, are you okay? Do we need to see a doctor?
Scene 2 at the clinic.
Good morning. What happened? We have to visit the doctor. What happened? My daughter's stomachache. Okay, you visit the doctor. Maya, convey your problem to the doctor. My stomach hurts and I feel sick.
It seems like you might have stomachache. I'll prescribe some medicine for you.
What does the prescription say? I can't read it. It is in English. I can't read it. It's okay. We will check in the pharmacy.
Maya and Maya's mother visit the pharmacy and get the medicine. Scene 3, back at home.
Amma, my stomach pain has not reduced after taking the medicine. Oh dear. Come, let us visit the doctor right away.
Scene 4 at the clinic.
Good evening. What brings you here? We consulted the doctor a few days back for my daughter's stomachache. Alright, you may go to ahead and visit the doctor. Doctor, Maya took this medicine, but the stomachache has not reduced. In fact, she says it's got worse.
Show me the medical prescription. I prescribe medisol tablet, whereas you got medicine. Further this tablet has expired for last month. Why didn't you check?
Oh no, doctor. We don't know English. We could not read as every instruction was in English.
Maya takes the right medication and is back in good health now. Maya tells her mother that she does not want anyone to face the challenges and that she will realize the importance of the English language in accessing healthcare. Scene 5 at school. Importance of the English language in accessing healthcare in India.
God bless Daddy. God bless teachers. Thank me always to make them happy. Good morning, teacher. Good morning. Sit
making a difference. Maya, because of the efforts of people in our country are talking about education and healthcare, I am glad I could help make a difference. Together, ensure everyone has a bright future. The skit aims to portray the importance of the English language in accessing healthcare in India. In India, many women face health problems during childbirth and reproductive health, with about 5 crore affected. Anemia and diseases like breast and common cervical cancer are common, causing many deaths each year. To tackle these issues, it's important to everyone can get their need. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Preetha for that video. Professor Vibhuti, ma'am, if you have anything to add. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Your presentation, you will be presenting a paper, no? Yeah.
Yes, I will be
and
taking.
Methodology that, yeah. And this will be part of the methodology that you have used for for animation and public education. That way it will go. Yeah. Your play. What
Yeah,
are the tools
that is just a part of the creative project. So
projects?
I would want to do anecdotal evidences.
Yeah. No, this also you can incorporate in a section that methods you have used is not only lecture method, interactive method, play, songs, awareness generation song. That would be campaign building and public education. Yes. Yeah. Fine. It's nice.
Also,
You only directed.
ma'am, they all those who are making videos, they can share the video with us. We'll put it on our YouTube. तो वो book में भी उसका link दे देंगे. We'll put the link in the book and essays so people can access from there also. That we can also do. Priyanka, we can coordinate.
Now, Abraham. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we also have Miss Anna Usha Abraham. She's from a media person. So does she have any suggestion to Miss Pritha? Ushaji, are you there? Hello.
Yes, Professor Vibhuti.
What is your suggestion? You are a media specialist. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hello.
think, hello, can you hear me? I think we should actually have subtitles also, which can be easily put on this video because it's a little difficult to hear what is being said. So maybe subtitles will help. It's a very good way to have different mediums of expression, not only presentations and written matter. Pictures, posters, videos, everything will be good.
Yeah, so the training module that you have, is it you only are doing it or you have also TOT? You are doing training of the trainers, Ms. Pritha? Are you doing TOT?
No, I'm actually a part of the founding team of an organization called Citizens for Law and Democracy. And two of the founders and co-founders, they have been working on this research for 15 years.
So why don't you do a case study of this organization also, in-depth case study of their work in last 15 years. That also you make a part of your paper. It should be because then other states and other places also it can be replicated. No? So if you do the whole documentation, which is called a process documentation in the research language, process documentation of this organization and the tools for training and public education that they have used to put forward their point, no? That why English education is
definitely, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll be sure to include. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
so organizing your material, because you have massive material, how are you going to organize that material to come up with a 5,000 words of chapter? No, we have between 3,500 to 5,000 words. You'll have to come up with the subtitle section. In that, one portion can be process documentation of these organizations' work over last 15 years and what are the knowledge resources they have created. So that can be used, and are they in public domain? Can others use it? Are they easily accessible, all that you can bring in.
And also
Definitely, ma'am.
Preethaji, also try to have other languages case studies as well, small. Take Bengali, take Marathi, take Gujarati, because it's a universal problem which you are highlighting. It's not just limited to Tamil or let
Not
us say.
Tamil, she says English language.
Yeah.
Her argument, central argument is need for English language for,
something universal. Yeah, but the problem is everywhere, no?
Yeah.
Even in Bihar or let us say Punjab. So that will mean the issue.
How can it be
rural
used
areas.
for? Same model can be used in different contexts. Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's very
Absolutely, ma'am. If I can just take a minute to actually explain how they do this. So they have a drill methodology, which is implemented in government schools. So they teach English, like I already said, through the regional language. Let's say Midivandi, it's a Tamil term, which means bicycle. But they when they say the drill Midivandi bicycle, they're actually able to picturize what this word means. Because in Tamil, Midi as in pedal and Vandi as in vehicle. So when you say bicycle, they might not actually know it's a vehicle, but when they are learning it from their language, they're able to conceptually understand this. So we do this scientifically for all subjects, let's say isosceles triangle. And when they learn the term in their regional language, they're actually able to conceptualize the subject as well. So I think that's the unique part of the drill. I'll be sure to document all of this in as a part of my research.
So they have a huge membership of the researchers who work on these modules. And
No, sorry, ma'am, I didn't get your question.
Do they have a huge team of researchers who work on these modules and who come up with this vocabulary and terminology and teaching methods and all?
The founder and co-founder, they've been working for 15 years. They have just made it into an organization. It's 1 or 2 years old. Now they're building the organization. So their entire doctoral research has been on this.
Okay.
That's the precedence.
Yeah. Very good. Worth a minute.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, Preethaji, for your presentation. Now, Swatiji, do you want to present as well?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
So before I present, I wanted to say that, the last month has been very problematic for me. And last week I lost my job as well. So I have not been in the right frame of mind, like, the abstract that I had submitted and things that I wanted to do. So what I have right now is just merely something that I have, for the formal requirement. I intend to, obviously, because I have contact of some policy consultants who work with the government, so I can get the data, what I had intended, while sending the abstract. So if I get back to normalcy, I hope so. I mean, we have to move on, so I'll be developing that into a proper paper, the way it should be, So right now, it is just merely things that I want to do, captions, So right now the presentation is merely a mishmash of something. So, but I wanted so that, to be there, I wanted to show up, I wanted to turn up. So, how do I do that share screen?
Yeah. Is it open? Your PPT is open.
Is it?
Double click to enter full screen. Yeah.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is in working mode. Yeah.
You can see slideshow above right top. Yeah.
So I had taken up this topic of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. And what I actually wanted to do here is that, it's more of a catchphrase, more of a slogan. And, even in normal, when people would talk, it would look like it's merely a slogan. And has the government, what I wanted to see, has the government actually, are there actually, credible things that have been done concretely, or in various government measures, certain efforts have been taken to do things. So as I was told that, yes, there have been a visible, some data changes and some difference, some reduction in problematic areas as well. And there are certain developments that are positive. And obviously there are the loop sides that I wanted to explore. So, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is a tri-ministerial initiative of the Ministries of Women and Child Development, Health and Family Welfare, and Education. It aims to address the issue of declining child sex ratio and empower girls and women through education, health, and social protection. And when we say social protection, so many things come to our mind, not only the government measures, but also the set of public measures that are there that we as a society provide to the citizens, to the members of the society. So for economic, so whether a child is able to go to school or not, whether a mother is having a proper, even the society, is it even concerned about that or not? And how does this initiative even take care of that or even consider that? So the scheme was launched by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on January 22, 2015 in Panipat, Haryana, one of the states with the lowest CSR, that is child sex ratio in the country. The scheme initially had covered 100 districts with low CSR and was later expanded to 405 districts in 2018. So the scheme how do I think one slide has just skipped.
Go backwards.
How do I go back?
You can use the arrow buttons in your keyboard.
Yeah, so the scheme has two components. One is the media, with the help of mass communication campaign, and the other component of the scheme is multi-sectoral intervention. So the mass communication campaign involves media advocacy, through advertisements, encouragement to YouTube videos, social mobilization, and community engagement programs to create awareness and challenge the social norms that devalue girls and women. For example, we might remember, there was a very popular thing, selfie with daughter campaign, and though it would look like, that these things do not actually achieve anything on the material sphere, yet there were many people, especially from Haryana, because they had to show that they are also with the rest of the country, so they would post their selfies with their daughters. Here, what I want to put out is that here I want to bring in J.S. Mill's idea of unusual is unnatural. So in our society where a male child is very much cherished, so when everybody around would be talking of daughters and encouragement, then slowly when what becomes very usual also becomes very natural choice for us. So it might look like these are things, what is this happening in the popular media, or they might not actually bring any material change, but they do have some impact in changing the mindset, or even bringing, and obviously mindsets do not change by evolution. So these things do have impact, in the civil society. So the second component of the scheme was the multi-sectoral intervention, which means a coordinated action by various stakeholders. So, from Department of Health and other, all the machineries that are there, how do they help women, or how do they help, in the empowerment of the girl child to improve the CSR, ensure survival and protection of the girl child, and enhance their education and participation. Like, for example, promotion of early registration of pregnancy, institutional deliveries, and registration of birth by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, making schools girl friendly. Like, we have many ASHA workers and Anganwadi Sevikas, and, they help a lot in, carrying on the message of the government. So through them, through the existing structures and also through newer schemes, how the government intended to create more awareness towards not only encouraging the birth of female child, but also empowering them through education and other means. So the scheme has shown some positive results in improving the CSR and the sex ratio at birth in in selected districts. I wanted to do a proper case study of Haryana, which I hope I'll be able to do. Right now, I do not have the data. So according to the Health Management Information System of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the SRB SRB has improved by 34 points from 903 in 2014-15 to 937 in 22-23. And according to the sample registration system of the Registrar General of India, the SRB has improved by 3 points from 896 in 15-17 to 899 in 16-17. 2016-18, sorry. The scheme has also contributed to the empowerment of girls and women through various schemes and initiatives. So there are some existing schemes that have been taken into account, and there are some new ones that also came on. Like, for example, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, which came in 2015. So it is a saving scheme in which the parents are encouraged to invest 1,000 rupees per month. And after the maturation, they will get certain amount. Similarly, there is this Pradhan Mantri Matri Vandana Yojana, in which young mothers, so when they have their first child, they get rupees 5,000 in 2 installments. And on the second child, they will get 6,000. Then you have the Ujjwala Yojana, which otherwise it would look like it's merely, just improving the life of women, who earlier had to work on smoke chulhas. But it, when when the mother is healthier or happier, then obviously it will impact the way the child is nourished. So that way, by, empowering mothers, the child would also be empowered. So indirectly that way, through Ujjwala scheme as well, the children in general and the female child or women, they are protected. Then we have this Swadhar Grah, and this scheme is for it exists from 2006-7, I think, and it helps women in distress. So any kind of any kind of problem that they might be going through. So here there are many centers that are there in every district, and every district they would appoint some 30 women who will be on the lookout for such women who might need any kind of help, whether it is from something that has happened in their family, or whether it's on economic front. Then we have Mahila Shakti Kendra that is there in throughout the country. Then the other schemes that are already there, that like Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, I think I've talked about it. Then Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So somehow, so when we talk of multi-sectorial intervention, because empowering a child, or empowering anybody, any human's life, they are dependent on multiple factors. So we live in a very interconnected world. So one needs to be given support from all the side, then only the child, or any child, not only female child, would be empowered. So then we talk about the impact on the civil society. As I earlier mentioned, that we'll that when something gets talked about, whether because the government is putting impetus on it, or because what we see in the media, or what we see in films or popular imagination, these are soft power. So soft, so somehow they are influencing the way people think or perceive the world. So when when you have a slogan like that, so then people catch up on that. So so the scheme has received positive response and support from the civil society and the media, including cinema. So there are many celebrities who would either even it is for a Twitter post, or in whatever CSR activities that they do. So they would bring up the topic, they would talk about, or they will conduct a show, they will go to such programs and then talk about it with the hashtag Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So that way also the issue gets talked about. So the issue gets endorsed and promoted. Then some films also came out, that might not be, there might not be directly an impact of the scheme, but because such things were there in the air, So, and because the movies are also looking out for the current social problems that can be portrayed on the big screen. So we had movies like Dangal, Secret Superstar, Toilet Ek Prem Katha, Padman, Ranbhoomi, Chori. So such movies brought on the topic of, and they aided in the awareness campaign that was launched by this scheme. However, as we see that, the responses on ground, first of all, because of lack of data, obviously the amount of money that has been spent and how much could be actually utilized, there could be huge gap in that. So we have problems like inadequate budget allocation and utilization, lack of convergence and coordination among different departments and agencies, lack of monitoring and evaluation mechanism to actually see, because very social problems, so they take, so for things to materialize on the ground, it might be very long term thing. So whether we have a proper monitoring system to evaluate whether these schemes are actually working, and especially in proportion to the amount that is being spent on that needs to be looked at. And despite all that, despite these things, despite the awareness, despite the encouragement, we still living in a world that sees a female child as a liability and a male child as an asset. So we still have the unethical practice of sex determination and sex selection, even though if it is illegal. We had movies, we had I forget the name of a movie that was about this sex selection process. So while there are hopes that there are things that actually helped in the encouragement and awareness towards this issue, yet there is a lot that is to be achieved materially as well, and even on the consciousness level. So, thank you. So that was it.
Thank you so much, Swati ji. Vibhuti ma'am, if you have any.
I have two comments because most of your data is pre-pandemic. Pandemic has changed the scenario. 2 years of pandemic where PCP and ET Act was freezed has also resulted in massive abuse of this technology of ultrasound. And UNFPA data, if you go through the UNFPA report, which says that sex-selective abortions have increased drastically, they have also done some estimate. Another thing is that Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, you said that inadequate fund utilization, only 128 crore being used so far out of 700 and some 80 crores. That also has gone only for media publicity. So actual work at a PHC level or at a strengthening of public health system or support for the funding for implementation of PCP and DT Act, because if you go through the PCP and DT Act, Vigilance Committee, appropriate authority, the regular visit and monitoring of the diagnostic centers, about that money is not used. So I think you will have to also go through the deconstruct the union budget, which comes under the special centrally sponsored scheme, and at a subnational level also what is happening. And it is there, material is there. UNFPA has done it, NFHS data of round 5 has provided, because round 5 was conducted in 2 parts, 2021 and 21-22. And even the budget unutilized fund data are also 21-22. So I think that you'll have to bring it. Otherwise, what you are saying, at the closing date is 2019. It's a pre-pandemic. In the post-pandemic period, the trends have changed, and also the utilization of funds. Because when it was freeze, PCP and DT was freeze during pandemic, there was no total non-utilization of funds, because the attention was on corona prevention. So, but it's perspective is right, and the way you have scrutiny of all the flagship schemes, that is also very important. Only thing you have to update it. And
also some more scheme, Lakpati Didi and others has been announced, Swati ji. You can include that. आप हरियाणा के और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के ना मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वुमेन वाले पे जाकर यू कैन सी लिस्ट, अभी इलेक्शन है ना तो वो
Sabla
भी
scheme also. Haryana also is a Sabla
हाँ
scheme for adolescent girls. Yeah.
SHGs उस पे बहुत ज्यादा पुश भी आ रहा है अब, so you can
And
see.
even the role of Panchayati Raj, because now Haryana also is 50% elected representatives. What are they doing at a ground level? That also will be very interesting. And there are studies on Panchayati Raj institutions' role in the post-pandemic period.
Don't get into HMI's data and other things. That is very complicated. उसमें भी 10-20% का error होता है. But if you're getting literature, more data paper, then you cite those. But don't go very deep. Otherwise, it will take time. Right? We take 1, 2, 3 years to develop that kind of paper. No?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am, for your feedback, and thank you so much, Swati ji, for your presentation. With this, we come to an end of all the participants' presentations that we had lined up for today. Just a few announcements. The deadline for the submission of the essay has been extended to 17th March from 15th March. And all the participants who have created a video for their creative projects should share it with us on our email ID. I've shared the email ID as well in the chat box. Additionally, feedback forms will be shared. Please fill those forms. Now, I would, Riyaji, do you have a question?
Yeah, she's raised hand.
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. Ma'am, my topic is Indian state response toward homosexuality. So I'm looking forward to for the chapter contribution this topic. So I'm confused with related to conceptual framework. Like I'm writing a research paper on this topic and I'm using literature review methodology. So for conceptual framework, I'm thinking to use Iris Marion Young, Logic of Masculinist Protection. उनका एक reading I have read that reading, Security State, and Giorgio Agamben's State of Exception. So is it okay, or could you please give me some
I think you
suggestions
also
for conceptual
Foucault, no?
framework?
You also quoted Foucault, History of Sexuality. No, you also quoted.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
Foucauldian thinking also about sexuality and violence. No, because that in his book also, Madness and Civilization, he talks about how the sexual minorities are treated throughout the history. He goes to the Roman culture and Greek culture and the historically how it has been done. Simone de Beauvoir in Second Sex has also talked about the patriarchal control over sexuality, not only of women, but all the sexual minorities and all those who are perceived as weak, children, person who is thin and short, poor, unemployed, homeless, people living on the streets, all of them become target of the marginalization, stigmatization, and sexual abuse. No? So I think you can and also intersectional framework is excellent. Intersectional vulnerabilities, because even among the homosexual, those who are rich and those who live in a big houses and those who were aristocrats and kings, they never had a problem. Okay? They could hide. Even the people who are the media barons, if they are homosexual, they don't have problem. They can easily check in 5-star hotel and do whatever they want. It is the people who are on the street, who are abused, who are thrown out of their homes, and those who are, especially those who are in the institutions, because these Adivasi girls who had lesbian relationship, how they were persecuted, both of them burnt themselves alive. Such kind of horrible cases we hear about the remand home. It is basically the powerlessness. So I think power as an analytical category would be very, very useful, and that you can draw from Foucault also. No, Foucault
And
also.
we have one book in IMPRI books of Beyond Binaries.
Yeah, that will be very useful.
It has all the resources. Very good resource person. आपको बहुत material मिल.
Do you have that book?
I have done that course. Ma'am, I have done that course.
तो आपके पास
I have done that course actually.
So you must be having the book.
सब कुछ मिल. Book
So
में
references, even the resources are given. All the links for the resources are given. But I think for power would be a very powerful way of looking at the issue, because if you only keep it gender binary, that you won't be able to give justice to the topic.
Yes, ma'am. Because yeah, like I'm trying to analyze it how state is powerful and state control sexuality.
But then there are dynamics also, no? The same state, British state, which incarcerated and came up with 377 post-independence periods, though we have a very progressive constitution which gives you Article 14, 15, 16, 21, could not give justice, could not, they could not think that they could have repealed 377. Why did it happen? Nalsa judgment. Then the repeal of 377. After the conservative forces, they prevailed upon the state, again, criminalization of homosexuality. And after that, the tug of war between the LGBTQIA community and the state. I think that dynamics also you can bring out in your paper, no? And I think that booklet, as Dr. Arjun Kumar said, that booklet has captured the pulses of this whole 200 years of history from colonial times till the present.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Riyaji, you write it once, then you share it with Professor Patel. She will help you.
Yeah.
In terms of writing, you also have to be concise, so be very careful.
Yeah, what we should be
5,000 word.
5,000, yeah, 5,000 is
5,000. So don't stress. Be very concise into that. Otherwise, it will become dissertation.
Yeah. And what is the deadline? 10th of March or the 15th of March?
17th Sunday.
17th March, extended.
17th March. It's a Sunday, so we are giving weekend to work upon that.
Okay, ma'am. Before that, even I can submit now to get the feedback, and even I have to improve something.
Draft you can submit.
That will be good for you. That will be good for you. Do that.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. The floor is now open for any feedback from the participants. If you have any feedback about the course, please feel free to unmute.
We'll also be sharing the feedback form. It's a long course, so take your time. Give your feedback, in-depth feedback. Within that, we will respond to that. Or yeah, Anisha ji, you want to have something to say?
Yeah, so more than feedback, it's about gratitude. I'm so happy to be a part of this fellowship and all the 10 days, and all those amazing women that we could hear from. And I didn't even know that there are so many things behind policy and how much people have to go through and what happens at the grassroots level, because me being in the academia and trying to reach out to students, that being my way of getting back or giving back to the society and trying to reach people. So getting to know all these other perspectives and so many variations to it, it was very enlightening and inspiring. Thank you so much for compiling such an amazing course. And thank you, all of you, for being a part of this. Thank you so much, Professor Vibhuti Patel and all the others, especially all the people who have been part of the organizing team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Is there anyone else who would like to add?
Anna, would you like to say, Usha?
I would like to.
Yeah. As a resource person, what do you feel? Because you have attended several sessions and even watched all videos. So
it was very interesting. I only have one suggestion that, we need to question the status quo, whether it was LGBT or whether even the other programs, Beti Bachao, anything. It's not just looking at what is there and then giving you need to question whether, it's actually doing what it is supposed to do. And is that what today's youth want? You are all so young and your life is completely different from what our lives were. Professor Patel and myself and all of us, we grew up in a different country. I mean, same different kind of a situation. So you need to question whether the old is relevant or not in everything that you do. is the only thing that I can add. But I really need to thank Vibhuti Patel, Professor Vibhuti Patel, for spending so much of time and effort in every weekend, being there, on time, listening to everything so carefully, explaining. It's really giving back to society. And I hope the youth will really, really take this as, it's not something everybody does. And hope you all will all understand how much she's putting in an effort, and give your best to it, please. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think they are also giving their best. If you see the publications in less than 5 publications we have already had in book where their submissions are included, they have also put in equally hard labor, and also a lot of new things which have come up. I think that is also commendable. So it's a two-way process, teaching, learning. So we have also learned a lot from your articulations, your case studies, your personal testimonies, and your final draft and writing and back and forth we have had on email. That is also very educative for all of us. Yes.
We'll try to make it the theme for the next year for young women's leaders. Public policy fellowship, challenging the status quo. That's a very nice suggestion.
Challenging the status quo would be a very good thing. Yeah.
Very good. Why not to critically look at all the things so that we come out with more relevant suggestions?
And we can do also comparative of with other countries' policies and all.
Yes.
That is also possible. Yeah.
Publications will
cross-country comparison can also
be able to. We'll do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We are above more than 3 hours, so we put to wrap with your
we will wrap. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So now it is my privilege to call upon Professor Vibhuti Patel ji to deliver the closing chair remarks.
Yeah, I think I must appreciate today's whole session, because right from Madam Kanta Singh's presentation and her 7 key points she brought out for young women policymakers and how they can be more effective in the policy space. From there to the presentation of the participants and the kind of serious themes which they have chosen, whether it's the stalking or refugees, condition of refugees or homosexuality, or the concepts such as mansplaining and gaslighting in political participation, inclusive domestic policy. All these are very, very important. And even the macro analysis, which young participant tried to connect political economy and governance and politics and spirituality and aesthetics. It's a very bold way of looking at the current reality. What emerges from all these 10 days session is, one, we all are committed to our commitment to collective good, because that is the role of legislation and policy. Sensitivity towards care work, how to reduce care work for women, how to recognize its importance, and how to reward care work when it is paid. So I think these 3 R's are important. Transnational solidarity, that has also come up, whether it while discussing status of Rohingya or status of refugees. I think that also it came up in several talks as well as in the research topic. Gender sensitization as a need of our and awareness about our privileges and your vulnerabilities. I think this many resource persons also reiterated it, and today Kanta Singh ji also told us that we need to be our privileges. How do we use our power and privileges for the betterment of people who are left behind? And the question of lifelong learning, very important. We have to always keep our eyes and ears and minds open so that we can understand the complexity and the unfolding reality in a more appropriate and realistic way. Representation of all genders in decision-making body, that also came out in several presentations, whether it is a youth policy or action plan or schemes or programs. The debate on culture, and also debate of the culture of tolerance, culture of resolving your differences, not with gun and violence, but with debate, discussion, discourses. And even after that, if we have differences, we should be kind to each other. These are the honest difference of opinion. And as I think, as our participant from Bengal, she said that we need to bring aesthetics in the policy discourse, which is very important. non-violent response to difference of opinion, and peaceful coexistence with nature, with fellow human beings, with the society and community we live in. I think that also came. I would like to end with my favorite Beatles song, John Lennon's 1971, Imagine. Imagine there is no heaven. It is easy if you try. No hell below us, above us, only sky. Imagine all people living for today. Ah, imagine there are no countries. Isn't it hard to do? Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. What Lennon says, a brotherhood of man, I have changed it to a humanhood of human being. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as on. And as we feminists say, नारी मुक्ति के साथ साथ मानव मुक्ति लाएंगे, मानव मुक्ति के साथ साथ नारी मुक्ति लाएंगे. Along with the women's liberation, we will strive for human liberation, and along while fighting for human liberation, we will never forget and we will always emphasize women's liberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It has truly been an honor and privilege to have you serve as our chair for the event. Your expertise and insights have truly enriched our understanding in every session. Your dedication to excellence and your ability to guide discussions with clarity and wisdom have made a significant impact on all of us present. Your contributions have been invaluable and we are deeply appreciative of your time and effort, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, IMPRI team. I think our pace of commitment and hard work is the same. That's why I think we click so well, because you are also so committed, and the rate at which you work, you put in your more than 100%. That also acts as an inspiration to me. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So as we come to an end of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship, an online national winter school program, a 2-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship, I, Reetlath, researcher, IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of IMPRI Gender Impact Studies Center. We are grateful to our experts for the day, Ms. Kanta Singh ji and Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, for taking out their valuable time and giving us an opportunity to learn from this online certificate program. As we draw curtains on this enriching 2-month-long course, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished speakers for their unwavering commitment and invaluable contributions. Your dedication in sharing your profound insights and expertise has been the cornerstone of this educational journey, enriching us all with a wealth of knowledge. I also wish to express my sincere appreciation to each and every participant for joining this intellectual voyage. Your active engagement, thought-provoking questions, and enthusiastic participation in our discussions has significantly enriched the depth and quality of our deliberations. We look forward to welcoming you all to future events like these. We are grateful if you're watching us later on YouTube or listening to us on our various podcasts or reading our publications. We hope you continue to join into our future IMPRI Web Policy Talk and Web Policy Learning. Wishing you all a very good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, IMPRI team. 3 cheers to all of you.